I need to do.
Okay, and we're live. Hey everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOC Reader, and I'm here with my lovely co host Shay.
Hi, y'all. Hello, I had to clean my glasses for a second, y'all. It was a little dirty. Had to clean them. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see y'all. Happy Sunday.
Yes, happy Sunday. It's been a busy Sunday,
Yeah.
and it's a little cold here. They're saying like some snow rain mix is coming.
Oh yeah, no, it's cold here. Like it was 75 yesterday. So I had my little workout outfit on. I was outside jump road and I felt cute. And then this morning I woke up and it was like a high of 54. And I was like, so we got 20-degree difference. Good
Mm,
thing my workout outfit still had long sleeves and pants, because I'd probably be sniffling today if it didn't.
yeah, oh my gosh, we had cold weather yesterday too, so it's not like we had a dramatic change. It was just like
So
it was
we had a
cold.
dramatic change. Like it was like cold, then yesterday was amazing, and then it's gonna be cold for like a week. And then it'll go up to like 70 and then be cold all over again. Crazy.
Hey Reggie. Hey Leetsies. Hey, is your name Decia Bree?
Yes, give us phonetic spelling. We want to get it correct
Yeah, I don't like to mess up people's names.
at all.
Hey, Alicia.
Hi, love. Still waiting on that first video.
I'm waiting too.
Right.
Hopefully, it's coming
Adrian done
soon.
already, but she done started a whole series on her channel and everything. Alicia, we waiting on you.
So, what chapter are you on in the book?
Okay, I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm where I was the last time we sprinted. So I'm on chapter 8. So I'm a little bit behind, but I feel like we do our 2 hours.
Yeah,
I'll be at least by 12 today for sure. I'm hoping to get a little bit ahead because as we saw before, I might not get to read every day. This whole reading every day thing is a challenge. I don't know how people do reading every single day because I read something because I'll be on social
yeah.
media, you know, or whatever. I'll read an article, but like consciously making an effort to like read a chapter a day is definitely a bigger struggle than I expected it to be
I
honest.
switch between things, so I try and at least read something from a book.
Hmm.
I don't. It's not always going to be like a book I've been reading for a while.
Hmm.
So this read a chapter a day thing that hasn't really been flowing for me either, because I'll switch to something else on my PR
I'm
and
like,
then
I really
sit
want to
in
do
one
this
sitting and read
though.
a lot.
But I'm loving the story so far. Like I'm really loving it. I was actually on a live earlier, like in the chat, not like on screen. And we were talking about the conversation was like good and bad writing. And I was saying like I love to read books that are very black because it's very like affirming, but also it makes me more conscious of like how am I writing dialogue in my stories? Am I being as true? Am I being as real? Am I making sure I'm not explaining things that don't need to be explained? And so like just reading this has just been like, I this makes me feel good. This makes me feel
Yeah,
good about like my personal decisions as a writer.
I've been like savoring the writing like this time around because, like I said, I read it before, but like I'm seeing stuff I didn't see the first time, and I'm like really enjoying like revisiting it and seeing like how she wrote some of the things, and like the writing in this one is really good. Like I really appreciate it, and I like how um Evie is still she's still she still feels like a teen.
Yeah, like even for it to be like the past and how it like to me in books that I've read that are set in the past with black characters, they just always read older because of
Yeah,
how much they've had to grow up because of the life that they've experienced. And so I think to be able to still have that aspect of her character be true and she still sound young is just chef's kiss. Like I think it's like a really good mark of great storytelling and character voice for the author for sure.
yeah, especially because when you think about it, it really wasn't that long ago.
Right.
Like
Not at
this was
all.
the 60s. So people like the teens still had like their teen ways. Yeah, there were certain things that ways they had to grow up faster than today's teens.
But
But
they're
it's
still
not like
kids.
a dramatic difference. There's some things about being a teen that's still the same.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Reggie's on the front cover.
The book, and then he's saying, "Reggie's silly."
Ulysses is on. I left off at chapter 6. Can't read. Yeah, that's the one thing about reading this at night too, because it's very creepy. Like I was reading some of it last night. I'm like, it's getting dark. Like the parts where it gets dark, it's like it has to be looking over my shoulder a little bit.
I'm not even gonna hold you. Like I know that I was like I'm reading one book on my Twitch channel, but I was like, yo, knowing this doesn't have an audio book really makes me want to like read this too, so more people hear it because I'm like, yo, this is so good. This is so good. So I can definitely see it being like a nighttime creepy read.
Yeah, and she writes for You on Netflix too.
Which I'm not gonna hold you. It's a good show. I'm not gonna hold you. I like the writing on the show. And this fourth season, I was like, okay, because y'all really was kind of pushing it with him being able to do everything he doing. But this is a nice little departure. I'm here for it. Have I finished it? No, because I realized they were doing like 2 releases, and I was like, y'all not gonna get me. I don't like to wait, so I'm gonna wait till everything out. And so this week I should be devouring it.
That was like one thing. Like I was surprised that they didn't push this one more. I'm like, You's been popular
for a while.
Like it was very popular in 2020 when this book was released because everybody was sitting at home watching it.
Right.
So like I was like, and y'all have a writer from that
yeah, that would have been a major selling point for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
you see him do that for other books, like this writer wrote for this and did it. So like, yeah, there's no way you can convince me that there's not an agenda, that this book doesn't have an audio book.
Yeah.
There's no way you can convince me that there's not an agenda in Trad Pub, because why?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why this doesn't
because
have
also accessibility. Like, what is the point of being traditionally published if your book can't reach as many readers as possible?
Yeah, for accessibility purposes and just like to even listen to it would be like great. I'd love to see like what the narrator does with it.
Y'all favorite, little internet doggies over here whining.
Yeah, like I would love, like sometimes Southern accents in audio can either be hit or miss.
They can definitely be hit or miss, right?
Like sure. I've heard good ones, and then I've heard people who are clearly trying. It's the same with like Caribbean accents. I can't listen to everybody.
I know for me, it's like sometimes I feel like the way they speak in general, you wouldn't have to put an accent if you just did the words themselves justice. And sometimes I feel like when people are doing audiobooks, they take too much into being a voice actor than like, nah, we still want you to read the book. We still want you, we don't really got to be this English man because you're not killing it right now. Sometimes you sound like you from Australia, other times you sound like you from up north. It's weird. I don't like it. And like I was watching, because y'all know I wasn't one of the people that watched The Wire when it came out. So like I watched it recently, and I was watching, I was like, how did y'all not hear that he was British? Y'all don't hear how he say these words, but like you don't know what you don't know. So I get it.
Yeah, like it's been 3 years almost, and this doesn't have an audio book.
Right, because you would think like even by now it would have one. Because even what was it? Not Wings of Ebony, but the other one, it got one eventually, right?
Yeah, Ashes of Gold didn't get one right away, but it got one later in the year.
Right.
So it was just interesting to me. Plus, like I said, I know since it specifically says in the synopsis it's set in Jim Crow era, that kind of was like some people would make some people shy away from it. But not that there's a problem with it. It's just, the perception that people have, even though there's a lot of violent contemporary stuff on the shelves right now that people read.
I don't know fantasies that aren't violent. Like, and we've been making a very big push for there to be like, what, I don't know if I'm saying the term right, but there's been like war fantasy. There's been a lot more of those. That's nothing but battles and killing and dying. Like, so like, and they still kids. So I just don't. I think honestly, people just don't like to think about real life. Like that's the truth of the matter. They just don't want to be uncomfortable with what our reality truly is. Like it's okay to talk about death and dying in teenagers if it's this magical place with elves and whatnot, but nah, it can't be, Chicago where actual people are living and dealing with this.
But then there's like contemporary stories that are also very violent, and people like are reading those and
Yeah.
loving them. So that's like the part where I didn't understand. I'm like, because what's at the end of the day, it's not a huge difference. I mean, the police is killing people here, the Klan is killing people here.
Right. No, it's not a big difference.
Truth be
I
told,
mean,
they're the same people. So,
quiet as it's kept. Ding 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 ding.
but I know when I remember because I was on a book tour for this one back when it released. Like some
Mhm.
people were like, I couldn't finish it because of the violence, and I'm like, but at the same time, that was the same time that people were running to read all this other stuff. So,
Yeah. You know me. I don't understand it at all. You can't really give me any logical reason why you can read this and not that, other than the fact that anti-blackness is a place that people thrive in. Like that's the only reason, like for me. Um it's like I can definitely get like not wanting to subject yourself to certain stuff, because like I don't read or watch slave movies. Like hardly ever, because
mm-hmm.
I just personally can't. But I also personally, compared to most people, watched a whole bunch more of those growing up than most
Yeah.
people I know. So like I got the story. I know what happened. I don't really need to revisit it. Some of y'all, on the other hand, can be
I
convinced
learned
that
like
we were
to
migrated workers and move on
yeah.
about your lives, and that's just not me.
I learned too it depends on how it's presented because I really enjoyed Homegoing, and I don't usually go towards like stories that deal with slavery. And the
I
nice
know
thing
you
about
recommended
Homegoing,
that to me, and it was already on my list of stuff that I want to read, because I was like
yeah,
I will give
the
it a chance.
audiobook for Homegoing was amazing. And like it goes throughout the year, so it starts in Africa and goes all the way down to present day. So you're
Okay.
getting different POVs from characters living during each time period.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
So it was really good. I mean, the slavery parts were kind of brutal, but there was also like, even though they were during slavery, it showed you like the other side, like relationships they had between each other and stuff like that.
Right, 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 right.
It wasn't just like then they're getting beat and that's it. And
No, I definitely think, again, there's a way to do the story, and the truth is most people don't want to take care to do the story right. So that ends up being things like I know so many people love Django. There's like I watched that one time and I was thoroughly disgusted, and I was like, how do people watch this repeatedly? Like just how? Like it just was just. It's like, well, you got to be a Quentin Tarantino fan, and I was just like, but
yeah,
also this just don't make your spirit feel a little off, like just a little bit, like I just think it's how people choose to tell the story. And
yeah.
it affects us differently for sure.
Well, because the first thing that I read from Elizabeth Acevedo was a short story she wrote set on a plantation. And I
Mhm.
read that and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I have to go read like what else she wrote now.
Right.
And I'm like, it wasn't as bad as like I heard slavery and I was a little skeptical, but then I'm like, oh, it actually was not as bad as I thought it would be. Because
Oh
she
yeah,
did a
no,
great
I'm
job,
definitely
like
willing to give stuff a chance for sure.
yeah, she did a
You know,
great
I'm
job
liking
like
this
showing you the
so
human
much.
side.
Because like again, me, I'm not a big, like, all the YA I've read has been because of people on BookTube, because that was
Yeah.
not me. So like again, it's like, all right, she suggested it, I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. And you know how hard it is to recommend something I actually like. So
Some more people came through. Hey, D Roxelle.
hey Deja, how are you?
KJ is
Oh,
here. Hello, hello. Reiki saying homegoing was great. Yeah, it was
I
like a
really
hard
want to
listen
read
to
it.
at some points, but it's really, really good.
Maybe it'll be my Juneteenth read.
Yeah, I read it summer of either 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
And like I was listening to it, and my mom was like with me and I was listening to part of it and she added it to her TBR.
Yeah, I feel like I think it's Aaron from Left on Red. I feel like is that Aaron? She had like a list of like people when I first started like finding out about BookTube, and I wrote down all everyone is still in my refrigerator. Have I went through all the people? No, no. I think I've only done like 10% of the people. I still got a whole bunch more to go. But everyone so far I've loved that I've read off the list.
So you said I might have to limit slavery content to one book a year. Well, because you read that one book that's been on my TBR for a while too. That seemed like it was going to be a really hard read. I'm forgetting the name right now, but it was like about slavery in Puerto Rico.
Oh wow!
It's on my TBR, but I know it's going to be a hard read.
A hard read, yeah. No, I feel you. I do the same thing.
Yeah. What I liked about Homegoing, like I said, was the balance. Like you're not just getting like slavery and brutality. You're getting to see like different eyes. You're getting different POVs because also, so the one, so it splits between slavery and colonialism. So, one person, one part of the line starts in the colonies. The other part of the line starts through slavery. So you kind of see how their experiences intersect and are somewhat similar, but also different.
Got you.
And how it like branched out depending on what happened to you, what happened to the person.
Got you. Okay.
Because I mean, the stuff that was like the person living in the colony, that was no walk in the park either.
Right. Nah, no. And I think that's also the thing that I find hard about slave narrative stories of like the ones that are being written now is that I just feel like there's no nuance with things. Like you guys are only showing one thing and it's like, yeah, but we did a lot in this time frame. A lot happened within us as a group of people. It wasn't all what happened to us, but how we thrive through the things that happened. And I feel like that's not always highlighted as it should be.
Yeah, because we also invented so many things.
So
many things.
Like, and that's the part that gets me is when we talk about
that's never highlighted.
No, when we talk about like Black contributions and we like what think about all the things that have been created. What white person was like, let me make this to make it easier on my slaves to work? Not a narrow white person, nobody. So like all of these things we created to make these impossible tasks more possible. And it's just like when how like that like
we wouldn't be
you've
like
always been able to give us shit and we've turned it to cake. Like always. Like you know what I mean? Like you've always been able to give us the very least. And whatever you get, we multiply and make something out of it because that's just what we do as a people. And it's like, don't forget that when you write these stories.
Lacey's dropped the name of the book that
A Woman
the title
of
I can remember. A Woman of Endurance.
Well, first of all, that title sounds like it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I read the synopsis and I'm like, this sounds like a lot, but I'm also intrigued. But it's like I know it's gonna be a lot. That's why I did not read it yet.
I'm gonna look it up. Thank you for letting me know.
Thanks for the title. Yeah, but it like when you think about it, so many modern like appliances too were created by Black people.
Refrigerator, iron board. Come on.
Yeah, street lights, everything basically. So like that part doesn't get mentioned, and people don't think about that. They just think, oh well, I don't know if people think like prior to 1965, people were just sitting around in pain. Like, I'm like, no, they definitely had relationships. Like relationships look a little different.
Right, for sure.
Depending on the time period, but I'm like, they did other stuff.
Right. No. True.
And then too, not everybody lived in the US either. So their experience was
like definitely different for sure. That part.
We can get started around 3:30.
Okay.
For our first sprint.
How long you want to do the sprint for?
I was thinking 30 minutes.
That works for me.
For the first one.
That works for me.
Oh, I have love songs too. And I have not
read that too.
I have not started.
I haven't read it, but I want to read it. But it's long. It's long. But I heard that it is blackity black. So I'm excited to read it.
There was that, and then there was another one that's name I can't remember, and it's like the audiobook had so many people involved in it.
Oh, for sure.
I'm trying to remember what that one was called. Because there's another one that's been on my TBR for a long time. I'm behind. There's so many books I want to read, but so little time.
No, you and me both. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I am still behind on books this year. Like this year has not been kind. And I'm like, let me just get through it. So that's why I'm like, I'm glad we got these sprints. I think I will actually be able to finish this one. So
Yeah, that can sometimes make the read painful too. Um, yeah, but I since I'm like more caught up on this one, I do have another book I've been working on this month. So I have to read this one, How to Be a Better Adult.
I like that cover. I saw it on Twitter. I feel like you tweeted about it or
Yeah,
something. I was like, this is the cutest flipping cover.
yeah. So I like want to start that one too because it's on. I put it on my March TBR. So far, I've only read like this. I started reading this, and then there's one book that I finished on my March TBR. So I need to like get on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel that.
But yeah, this girl, she like has a podcast where she just likes cute like girly stuff. She likes anime and stuff, but she wrote a book like that about like a magical realism inspired book about about her life in the corporate world.
Okay.
So
I'm here for more magical realism by Black
yeah,
authors.
and she
I'm
just
definitely
decided to self-publish it herself, which I thought
Oh,
was
it's a
really cool.
self-published book?
Yes, she
Okay, I
published it.
really want to get it now because that cover is
Yeah,
definitely not giving self-published. I was not getting self-published from that cover.
yeah, she
I'm
published it
proud for
herself.
her. I love that for her.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. And then she did the coolest thing like the other week. She did a meetup with some people in her area to like have like go like play games and eat pizza and talk about the book and stuff. And I
Oh,
thought that was
that's
really
so
good too.
cool. I love what the girlies are doing these days.
And I'm
I
like,
love
that's
that
so
for her.
cool. Like, cause she's really showing people too. You can be self pub and still do like cool stuff and
You're so right.
get your
No,
book
and be
together.
involved with your readers and stuff. Like, no, that's dope. I'm with that.
Anything in my life. Yeah,
Right.
like her like she did like an awkward adult meetup. I thought that was really cute to just
I
hang out
love
with them and stuff.
I love that. Especially as somebody who's like low key awkward at times.
Exactly. I thought that was really cute. That and I'm like she was reaching out to like different like YouTubers and bloggers and stuff to like send her book to. So she had sent it. So she reached out to me and asked me if I wanted. I'm like yes, of course. I'm like from the time I saw like the cover and heard what it was about, I already had put it on my TBR.
Right, right.
Lisa said she's also having a slow reading month. I finished a couple of books, so it's not that I didn't finish anything. I'm just not going as fast as I wanted to go. And like the stuff
Yeah.
I finished is not on my TBR.
Got
Like
you.
I finished shorter books like novellas and comic books.
Mm. Yeah, no, I just have not been just that. But this is gonna change all that because I'm liking it. And it's not even that I haven't been liking the other stuff I've been reading. It's just been like the desire just has not been as consistent as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
We ready? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, KK said it's been slow. Only finished one, but have three I could finish. Yeah, sometimes too you just put a book down and you want to pick up something else and you're not sure you're having trouble going back to it. Okay, so it is 3:30, so let's get started. All right. How did everybody do? So let's get to see. There were some more comments. He said it's time to get scared. The chapter I was reading wasn't really scary. It was interesting though. I liked the conversation that they were having. It's still like something we talk about now. So like I'm on chapter 12 now. I'm almost done. I had to stop and get something to eat. And KJ said, I'm reading my first nonfiction book in ages. It's called The Black Man Dies First. Ooh. So what's that one about? Because I haven't heard of that one. Reggie says, good luck. And he is also reading Mechanics of Love by Mika James and The Davenports by Crystal Marquis. So I've heard of both of them. I DNF'd The Davenport, so I didn't like it, just wasn't vibing with me. Just like it has a lot of POVs, and once you start getting above 2 POVs, for me, it's like hard to keep track if they sound very similar.
If the books sound very similar, or the
How
voices.
far did you get,
talking
Shay?
about the voices- You talking about the voices of the characters sound too similar in the Davenports?
Yeah. So what happens is it's 4 POVs. It's all these girls who are coming of age, and they all need to find a partner, but they're all like with the wrong partner. And then some of them have very similar personalities too. So I'm just like, they're all going through the same thing at the same time. That's a little like it wasn't clicking with me.
Got you.
Because like you can tell there's going to be a point in time in the book where they're going to switch partners.
I see what you're saying. Like, so the partners are right for other characters in the book.
Yeah.
Got you.
And you can tell that from, I think I got to like chapter 5 or 6. So you can tell that right away.
Okay, got you.
So what I did was I just like read some people's reviews. I read Ashley from the Bookish Realm review, and I know when she reads because she's like she was a history major. Like there's certain stuff she'll be looking at in historical stories, and it wasn't giving like the heavy historical like aspects. So I'm like, okay, then it's definitely I like going into historical fiction for like it to feel like it's historical.
Got you.
Be back into that time period. And part of it too was when I was reading it, I'm like, it feels kind of modern. There was even like a couple of times that I did a double take and I'm like, wait a minute. Because like, so we know like hair products and stuff are really different back then. Like the one girl, she was making her own hair products. Like she wants to make her own hair products to sell. And she was talking about like blending banana to put in this hair cream and stuff. And I'm just like, were they doing that back in 1920 when bananas were harder to get?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna hold you. I can't. I don't know about back that way back then. Not even gonna hold you. I wouldn't even be able to tell you.
So like
But
that took me out of the story for a moment.
where I am, where I'm at in the story so far, I'm really liking it. Like I said, I really love Evie's voice. I'm liking the Haint imagery, like the imagery
Mhm.
of like people that are dead but aren't dead that she can see and whatnot. Um, I'm loving the scenes that her mother is in. Like I just like the way
Yes.
that her mother speaks. Especially because again, y'all know me raised by my grandmother, so so many things are the ways that she says something just sounds like my grandmother to me. So it's like this is it feels
I was
good.
thinking about that when I was reading, like, and we got to the part with the grandma. I'm like, Shay's gonna like this part.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm really, really
It's
liking
gonna
it.
bring up
So
memories.
yeah, no, it is. And there was like a when when we were reading last week and her mom was giving her stuff about her curfew, I was just like, yeah, this is how my grandma would talk. This is like, and I never even got like, we never even had a curfew conversation because I didn't get to go outside, so it wasn't like it was like, but like just the way and the
Mhm.
tone in it was just like this and this are these two different things. Is it when she's like, is that new math? I was like, not is
Yep.
that new math? Like
Yeah,
my grandma used to say that all the time. So I'm as I'm continuing through the story, I'm just loving the blackness of it for sure. For
yeah. When
sure.
I was reading the part with the grandma, I'm like, Shay is gonna like this part, like, because she'll like, because you always talk about like your relationship with your grandma and stuff, and I'm like, her grandma is definitely one of those old school grandmas. She no nonsense. Like even when we
No,
got,
because very much so. Very, very much so. Just the nah, it is what it is. I said it. I meant what I said. We're not going back and forth. And I'm like, those different kind of parents back then. Different kind of
yeah,
parents.
no, because even the part where like Ivy is like talking to her mom and like they get into like a magic fight. I was like, oh
It's nice. It's nice. I'm like, I really, it's making me like, I definitely want to read more from this author. So I definitely hope that she's like still writing books. And I know she writes her shows, but like,
yeah,
I definitely hope she keeps writing books because I'm loving her brand of storytelling.
yeah. And I know her. She like writes plays too. I think her sister is also an author. So I'm like hoping she comes out like she's working on something to come out in the future. Alicia's in the middle of chapter 8. Ike says the history of Black people in horror. Okay, the black man dies first is about the
Okay, that's
history
what
of
I
Black
was thinking. I was wondering if it was like
people.
a look at black people in horror. Definitely let me know how you like it in the end because I would totally read that as
Yeah,
a as especially just because like I want to write more horror anyway. So just for like research, definitely tell me.
yeah,
KJ,
because you write horror.
my inbox. Hit my inbox, girl.
I like reading some horror, but like for a while there, like all the horror we were getting by Black people was starting to read the same for me. So now I feel like they're slowly bringing like different ones to the mainstream out.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I feel like everything was trying to be get out and nobody was doing it at all. And I feel like there are so many different things that we could write that are horror that don't have to surround white people.
Yeah,
Like there
like
are
if,
definitely things that scare me that are not Caucasian is all I'm saying.
yeah,
Like there are other things in the world. And so I can appreciate when an author is exploring other things.
yeah. So like I'm slowly starting to see them bring out more stuff because like I read The Spite House and that was I enjoyed that one. I know like a lot of people didn't like because that one has multi POVs, but I find like the POVs in there for me made sense to the story. Like every POV had its purpose, even if I didn't like all the POVs. And like It was an actual haunted house book, not like White Smoke.
You know that upset me so much. A real haunted house story is so.
Yeah, when I was like, oh, so the house is actually haunted. This is how it's supposed to be.
Man, listen, we're not gonna talk about that book. That book did numbers.
But and then like I'm seeing like this Spite House is like really popular right now too. Like they're saying like it's selling really well and stuff. So I'm like, hopefully we get more along this line where our biggest enemy isn't just white people, where we can actually have like haunted house stories.
So
Where
Spy
the
House is
house
written
is
by a black
haunted.
person?
Yeah, so the Spite House follows like this father, he's on the run with his two daughters, and he decides to live in this house. Like this lady's paying like an exorbitant amount of money for you to live in this house and document what's going on in this house. Because he's on the run from the law, and like it does at first it doesn't tell you till later why he's on the run. But because he's on the run, he and his daughter have been working like little odd jobs here and there to make quick cash. He's like, this is gonna set me up for life. So I'm gonna go in this haunted house and document stuff to get set for life. And then you see later in the book why he's
Smells
crazy
like a
enough
setup, bro. Smells like a setup. Something right.
You figure out later in the book why he's crazy enough to do that.
Oh yeah, no,
like it makes sense. But I really enjoyed that one.
I'm intrigued.
And the audiobook for that one is really good too.
Right, Alyssa's. So here's my thing is I was like, I've been feeling the way about Clay from Jump, and I'm like, I was hoping that the reason I felt a way about Clay is like Clay is magical too, and I'm feeling like Clay might be the ops, and I don't want Clay to be the ops. So I'm like, please don't be somebody she gotta, put the jubilation on and whatnot. I'm intrigued to see.
It's funny because reading it again, like I'm noticing like foreshadowing that I missed the first time too, and I'm like, oh well, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I was just like Clay just from Jump made me feel weird, and like I know RJ is supposed to be the dude that's like creeping her out, and he's like obsessed with her and da da da. But something about RJ gives me that like, yeah, that quiet friend that's always watching, but they always watching, and it's not a bad thing that they always watching because they peeping stuff that you ain't seen because you like head over heels. And I'm like, again, y'all know writer. I'm not mad if that ends up being what's happening because it's being done well. Like I could totally be wrong and be off base. So if I do end up being right, I'm not mad at it because it's written so ambiguously that you're like, I don't know who's good or who's bad. I know one of y'all can't be trusted. It's just the rule of writing. Somebody in this circle of friends ain't gonna be good. I'm just, who is it? I don't know yet. I'm intrigued though.
AJ has also made it to chapter 7. So it looks like a lot of people around chapter 7, chapter 8. What chapter do you say you were on, Shay?
I just finished 10. 10.
So okay. Right.
Yeah, I'm not super far behind of where we're supposed to be, but so yeah.
But you're at the part where they met where they came to the grandma's house.
Yeah. I think yeah, I think that's what I just read. That was like, this is the parents. I like and you know me.
Yeah.
I don't like when there aren't families in the story. Yeah. So like, family being a part of the story, or even going back like last week when she's like doing her sister's hair in the kitchen, like right? Like the oldest does so much more. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
Yeah, that part really stood out to me too. I'm like we're talking about generational magic and the parents are actually there.
Right.
Like because even she visits her dad. So like he makes an appearance. So I'm like, oh, we're actually getting family members in a fantasy.
Right.
You know how they like to put those kids off by themselves.
That part. And
with
it's
the
like,
weight of the world on their shoulders and no help.
Learn all this by yourself. This is not easy.
So I like that she took her to the grandma. Like, no, we're gonna find somebody to help you learn. I'm out of practice, so I can't really show you. But
right,
but I'm gonna bite the bullet and go see my mom and ask her for help.
Right, and it's already like I liked the foreshadowing of like what to expect from their relationship from before when it was just like she don't really want to talk to grandma about what's going on. And it's like, well, okay, now it's getting to a point where you need to. And here's the thing: we got to grow up about some things and have some conversations. So I'm
Yeah.
liking all the like little conversations that
Even
it
the
creates.
dynamic between the mom and the grandmother, I find really interesting too. Because grandma ain't doesn't feel all of mom's decisions, and she has a lot to say about it. So I like that they show the dynamic between the mom and the grandma as well.
Yeah,
Between her and the mom, and she we mentioned like her grandma is very different towards them, and she's like the way her mom, and she can recognize the way her mom parents is very different from the way her parented her mom.
that part.
Lucy was talking about what I said. Lucy was talking about what I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
With the hair products, she said, yeah, they were definitely into. That's what I thought when I'm reading. I'm like, but we didn't like bananas were a little hard to come by. I think around the 1920s there was a banana shortage and everything too from shipments coming in. I'm like, we just gonna be sitting up here making these natural hair products during a
I
time
know
when it
that
was
there were like
chemical and pressing
so
curl.
at least for like, and then so I don't know. I'm not, let me not give like age ranges right. Cause like I want to say my granny, I was born in the 90s and my granny died before the 2000s and she was in her 90s. So she's who raised my grandmother. And my grandmother was born in the 50s. So in between their two like age ranges, there's like natural stuff that like my grandmother knew to do with hair from my granny. But like I don't remember being like a bunch of like bananas and stuff. Like it was more so like oils and stuff like that than it was
Yeah.
like fruit and stuff like that. So like it just was like different. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like
Plus,
we consider like natural made stuff now.
plus, mind you, this is Chicago, and the girl who was making the hair products is poor. Like she's working as a housekeeper.
Yeah, no, that's
So I was
definitely
like, I don't know how well this part was thought out that she could just like be able to pull these ingredients. I don't mind her trying to do her hair, like do her own like hairline and stuff, but I'm like, some of the stuff she would have been using would have been different.
yeah. No, I definitely agree. There would definitely been a decent amount of research, but to me, that's also why like I've stayed away from historical because there is so much that you would have to do, right? And that's why
Yeah,
like Best of Code has taken me a while because it's specifically like it's set in our time, but so much of the history of it goes back because of being written in honor of a spook who sat by the door. So like I just think that when people choose to write historical, they have to be willing to do the due diligence of it. You don't get to just
yeah,
make up stuff as you go along like you can with now or futuristic things.
yeah. Well, and some people like to do that. I know there's like a constant like debate on like whether we should get people to write one and like do a historical and just like be colorblind. I'm like,
I mean, yeah, if the description you're saying it's alternative history, sure. Yeah, we
yeah,
can do this in alternate universes, but if you're trying to be accurate, come on now.
because it takes me out the story if it don't feel like the time period you said it's supposed to be
Yeah,
set in.
nah. Definitely if I'm hearing words that I know I should not hear.
Yeah,
Like,
that too.
right. Like the only thing that I've watched, like, and it still takes me out and I love it, but like I don't know if you guys have watched Our Flag Means Death, but it's set in like the time of pirates, so in like 1700s or whatever, like the time of pirates. And so like randomly he was like, my bad. And I just giggled because I was like, that is not supposed to be there. That is not, something that would say. It's a comedy, so it fits, it works, like
Yeah,
it's stupid. But like in a historical context, like that doesn't work. That's not
I
that's
remember
not what
reading.
we're here for.
Yeah, I remember reading Dread Nation too, and that like I was finding words that like weren't that time period because it's set like around the Civil War time,
Right, that's what I thought. I thought it was like during, yeah.
and there was like words in there that were clearly like 2000s and above,
Yeah.
and I, like a couple of people pointed it out, and I'm like I definitely noticed that right away when I was reading.
In that live I was in today, the conversation was like, so is that bad writing or is that bad editing?
Mm,
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because somebody should have caught that. Like,
because it was obvious words. I don't remember what the words were, but it was obvious stuff
with
too.
obviously words they wouldn't. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it for sure.
Laura, like I don't have to look up in a dictionary when like people started using this word. Like I know it was more recent.
Right.
It said not that house is actually haunted. Listen, if you read
Yo,
that book, you know.
man, I don't think KJ did. Like, I think that was like
Oh
when
yeah, I
I
think
was
she
first meeting KJ on YouTube, and I was talking about it, and KJ was like, "I'm trying, but I can't do it. I can't do it." I don't think she finished it. She might have, but I don't think she did because there was a lot of us that was like, "Nah, son."
And everybody
Nah.
else was like, "This book was so amazing. I loved it.
I
Best book
just
of
was
the
like,
year."
"What
And I'm
book
like,
did y'all read?" I
and I
just
remember,
feel
I
like,
think that was the first time I followed you guys for like a live discussion. So I'm
right.
like, good. Somebody else noticed this stuff.
I was like, yo, I just feel like y'all had to suspend disbelief a lot to like this book because what book were y'all liking? Because it just was
Even
not.
like the important conversations people said it had.
When
I was
people said that, I was like, starting a conversation isn't having an important
yeah.
conversation. Like, no, that's not what it is. Saying weed needs to be talked about is not having a conversation.
I'm
Like
like, I think we were getting confused there because I'm like, she
that
mentioned some
part.
stuff on page, but it was badly explored. Storylines kind of fell off.
Man,
People
I
disappeared
still
and
don't know
never came
why we
back.
had to go through. Like, what was the importance of everything being so connected for nothing to happen?
The white pastor that was like reminiscent of the one
What
that's
was
on
the point of
BT.
that?
I don't
Like,
understand what
why
the
was
point
he?
of it
What
was.
were these like interjections of like this really awkward Christianity? Like, what was the point? It
That
was
I
just so
didn't
many things that
understand
was
it
like, why are you doing this? Like, are you
because
just like,
it was
these are
clearly
all
like
the things people are talking about on Black Twitter. Let me throw them in my book. Girl, stop.
yeah, because it was clearly like pulling like inspiration from Pastor Popoff or whatever his name is. But I'm like, we like okay, but like I don't understand why everybody in the neighborhood would be watching him because people now were just like, why are they playing those commercials on TV? Except for we know who like white people own BET is the only reason why they're doing that. So I'm like,
Right.
it's not like everybody black is throwing their money into him. So
Right.
that part just made no sense to me.
No, it was just like,
He ain't
why?
from
Like,
the
this is a if
neighborhood,
this
so
is a
I don't
plot
understand
device,
him.
it's a horrible plot device. The family was garbage. Like, this man is garbage. This mama high key is garbage in my eyes.
She was
The
the
way
garbage
you
in
should
my
have
eyes.
punished her for being like, I'm gonna call my daddy. You had an escape. What black man don't need to have an escape plan for his daughter if she don't want to be in this house with this caucasoid? I just don't understand. As y'all can see, I really just did not
Yeah.
like that book. That book had so many issues for me. I was not okay. Like, just logically, you are putting your teenage daughter in a house with a man that truly neither of you know. Neither of you know. You literally met this man and he was like, oh, we both missed our ride. Let's share a car. And y'all married a year later. I don't, whatever.
I know you
God,
gotta
y'all,
suspend disbelief
right, just
for,
do that. Just
but
cool,
that was
just
too
do
much.
that. But
This
then to be mad that her dad was like, yo, if you're not comfortable, if it like, come on. Like, no. That's probably the only good thing about the book that you wrote, a good black daddy. Like, that's literally the only good thing that you wrote. That he was like, nah, you don't want to be there? Come on, let's go. Like, that's the best part about the entire book. I was like, yay, good representation for if your child is uncomfortable. That was it.
yeah, I'm like, I don't
Because
know.
legitimately, the mom being like, I want to live out my dream. Girl, you should have thought about that before you had kids. I don't really like, what? What? Girl.
It really was a fantasy, in my
It was
opinion.
a freaking fantasy. Like, are
The
you
stuff that we had
serious?
to, the stuff that we had to ignore to make that book work. I'm like, I guess if this is an alternate version of America.
This girl is such a germaphobe. All she do is give us bed bug facts, but she go into abandoned houses to grow weed because she can't live without. Y'all know I smoke heavy. I'm not going into no abandoned house to grow no weed. Have you lost your mind? Also, growing weed is not easy. Can we say that?
No, it's
Like,
not.
growing
It's
weed is
not.
not easy.
It's not.
Where
at
are you
all.
getting sunlight in this abandoned house?
You
Because
have to have
we need sunlight, like a
you have
lot
to
of
have
light.
a good sunlight or a good lamp. That
A
you need to
really
be
good lamp that's got to be
Yeah,
on for like 12 hours and off.
exactly.
Also, it takes like 4 months to grow wheat. Okay, I'm just, it's just a lot that was wrong with that book. Just a lot.
I like you just had to not know a lot about a lot of things to make that
right.
story.
You just had to not, and I was like, I feel like you didn't research nothing.
Especially since we said laced weed is potentially laced weed is worse than Percocets. That book told me that, and I was just like,
I'm really trying to
I was
understand.
confused.
Like we talking about weed for this whole book, and we just gonna ignore the fact that she literally OD'd on pills. Got you. Okay, cool.
No, you did. You had to ignore somebody.
You did. Like nobody. There's no person that has liked this book that has, when I have brought up these things, been able to explain them. Like they had to ignore them. Like they were like, "Oh, I didn't see it like that." Okay,
I like the vibes of it. Okay,
I like the. Okay, cool. I guess.
I mean, we can like whatever vibes.
Unresolved issues, sure. Go ahead. It sounds like you and the author need therapy, if you ask me, but whatever.
I mean, I'm all for you liking whatever vibes, but don't sit up here and say how this book is important then. Just say you like the vibes. Don't pretend.
Important is a stretch.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's like a Miss Incredible type of stretch. Like that's some long arms right there. Important.
Exactly. Call a thing a thing. Like I'm like, you can say it was.
I will give her props on allegedly. Allegedly was good. I loved allegedly. 5 stars out the bag, and it's just been bloop 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 ever since then for me.
I read the picture book.
You get on my nerves. I'm about to turn my camera off. Now I read the picture book.
I did. She wrote a picture book for Christmas. I mean, it didn't get it. It wasn't really like a great. I don't feel like it gave what I wanted it to give for me and the kids. But I read the picture book. Like it could have been a little bit more earful. It could have like had a standout story. We was just walking around asking questions.
I'm not about to play with you. She said, I read the picture book.
I did. That's the last book I read from her was the picture book. And I'm just like, okay, this was name only. This is what this picture book sold off of.
That just tickled me. I'm sorry.
Like, no, like with picture books, they're very hit or miss. Everybody doesn't know how to like write it and keep you like.
I agree. I definitely agree.
And I read a lot with like my nieces and stuff. So we go through a lot of picture books, and some like they're really into, and some they get bored. And like it depends on like which age you're
Boom Boom has kept kids interested for decades.
Yes, Chika Boom Boom. Oh my gosh, my niece loved that one.
Everybody, I've been reading that to kids since I was in elementary school.
Yeah, we read that when I was. That was one of the first books we read in kindergarten. Right, and I read it to my niece, and she was 4, and she loved it. She's cracking up, laughing. Like,
yeah, right. That book will forever be a classic. I don't know why. But it is a knack to it. I totally agree with that. It's not something everybody can do. And I think that's another thing that I am disliking with this like new batch of authors is we're convincing people that they can just do anything and everything. It's like, nah, some people just have a bag that they're good in. Stay in your bag. Don't try to get out of that. And I think part of it is these contracts that people get in. They can't write other things. So they're like, well, I got to get in this genre, this age category so I can put another book out so I can make money. And it's like, but you're really not that good at it, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's okay to only be good at like a specific type of book, like maybe epic fantasy in your lane, but maybe urban fantasy is or something.
It is, right. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Like once you find your lane, that's when you're really going to hook people, because that's something I think about too, like writing, like a lot of people are just like switching genres based on trends. And I'm like, but do people actually follow you? Because if they don't like you in the next genre you write in, and maybe they like your first one, or vice versa, and you're switching back and forth and switching age. And I had a discussion with an author recently with switching age categories too, because people will a lot of times write YA, and switch to MG, and like they don't and the voice kind of sounds the same, and maybe they didn't build up enough like people from YA who are going to follow them to MG, and it's like a completely different audience. Or like they'll switch from YA to an adult and the writing sounds the same when the audiences are very different what they're looking for depending on the genre. Like the voice needs to change a little bit.
Very different. Yeah, I still don't know why Cherish Fair was supposed to be an adult book.
Yeah, that's like the thing. There are a lot of like adult book, like because I've read adult books, like I've read adult books that had like teen characters that sounded adult, and then some of these new ones they don't sound adult, like the voice.
And I've read adult books where the character is a kid and sounds like a kid, but the book doesn't sound like Long Division. Long Division is not. I've never read it and thought this is a book for kids. Ever.
No.
I've always thought it was for our age category. Nobody in that book is older than like 15.
Yeah.
Besides the mom and the grandma, and they not in there a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a way to do it, and I know that it can be done well because we have examples of it. You know?
Yeah. The Black God's Drums is another one. She's 13. That does not read like middle grade. That does not read like YA. It reads like the adult novella it is.
That title. Oh my goodness, I love that title. That title sounds amazing.
And it was a really good book. Like there's stuff in there that is clearly for grown people, but like this is a young character.
No, it's definitely a thing for sure. Do you want to get one more in?
Yeah, we can get another 30-minute in.
It does. Blank importance for blank rep is such a stretch. Right.
Yeah, I don't know about some of the rep that they say that they're providing for some of these.
I'm gonna be honest, the way I'll be looking at books, I'm like, I feel like my kids is gonna read the same books I read as a kid because these new books.
Yeah, the thing is with Grown is that I DNF'd that one because it reads like the case that it was clearly inspired by to a T.
And I haven't
if you've
seen it,
watched interviews from
that's what everyone
Azriel, I feel like they're ripping off her story.
That's what everyone said. That's
watching her interviews is very eye-opening when you listen to what she's gone through and listen to like especially from when she was with him to now when she's out of the situation and she's had time to reflect and stuff. I'm like, I can't go back and read that. People profiting off her life.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like I read it because y'all know, for those who watch me, I don't DNF things. I'll put stuff down, but I don't really DNF anything. And I was really trying to give her a chance. And so I was like, 3 strikes, you gone. So it was like, I liked allegedly. Monday's Not Coming. I knew the story because when the actual case happened, I followed it for college debates. So I knew it before I got there. And that made me feel iffy because I was like, this is real Black girls' stories. I don't like this. And then Grown came out and I was like, oh, okay. Everybody's saying it's good. I'm going to go ahead and give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it and I was like, I was talking to people who watched the R. Kelly thing because I never watched it. I
watched parts of it because my friend had me watch parts of it. I also read the one book that came out the same year as Grown, Muted, which was by Tammy Charles. And that was also the case to a T almost. And I don't feel like she really did much different with it.
And my thing was like for me, when the books came out, the case was still ongoing. He was still going to court.
Right. So like it didn't even wrap till last year.
Girls are having to go to court and they're having to give witness, and people are reading about this fictionalized version of their lives, and these Black women are profiting off of these other Black women's pain, and that disgusted me. Truly disgusted me because it's like this is like 20 years later where they're grown and like moved past it. Like they're still living.
No, we are watching the documentaries
right now. We're watching it live happen, and to me, it's just like, how could you do that to another Black woman?
It screams cash grab.
It did. That's what it screamed to me. It screamed cash grab. And for me, what really pissed me off is at the end, she does an author's note and she's like, it's not about the case. It's not about the man. It's about the thousands of girls that this happens to. And then I was like, no, because if it was about that, you would have wrote a story about the man that comes into girls' jobs every week and tells them they're pretty and gives them $20 extra for a tip, that they don't realize that man is grooming them. You don't talk about R. Kelly, who most girls are never going to encounter. Most girls are encountering the school bus driver. Or
that 25-year-old who lives in the neighborhood who wants to hang around the high schoolers.
That part.
Because
that
best
like, friend, older cousin, who they've known their whole life and don't think anything of. Like, that would have been the story if that's really what you wanted to do. Because that's like, it's so much easier for us to see R. Kelly was a bad decision. It's so much harder to see that 25-year-old.
Yeah. Like, I feel like
no, there is a specific case. So without like going deep,
I don't think a lot of people know that it was a specific case.
No, it's a specific case. The mom thought that, so in the story for Monday's Not Coming, the kids that end up dead, the mom thought that they were possessed because they were sexually assaulting the younger kids in the house. So she thought mentally that she needed to kill them to keep them from hurting the other kids. So it's a lot going on in that situation.
You're the only one I've heard talk about it being a real case. I don't think most of the people who love and enjoy that book know it was a real case.
It was a real case. And I knew, I want to say I was like 4 chapters in, and I was like, if this is this case.
Does it say in the author's note that it's a real case, or did people
I don't think it does till the end, maybe. But no, like, it's a true, like, real story. And so, like, at first I thought it was going to be the girl, the main character was gonna be the girl, and then I realized it was like the best friend. So it's like the outside looking in, but it's still like, no, like, these kids are really having to grow up, like, knowing that their mother did this, knowing that their siblings are gone, like, all these different things. And like, it wasn't that long ago. It was not that long ago that this happened. So it's just, for me, it's something that I couldn't stomach doing. And I don't understand how, as a Black woman who you say you are trying to advocate for Black women and for their voices to be heard, that you did this to other Black women. Like, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, because it reminds me of like how TV shows like procedurals and like soap operas and some stuff will do like that Emmy bait like episode or storyline where they pull from like real life headlines.
Real life headlines, yeah. No, it's like to me, it's like, it's crazy that, like, well, we understand, or we don't want to see this when it comes to the Jeffrey Dahmer story and feeling like all these Black people's pains is being put on display and da. But you didn't understand it for this very real 17, 18, 19-year-old girl that this just happened 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's just why I'm not finishing Grown. Like, I don't need, it like we said, it was
wasn't
ongoing.
even a satisfying story.
It was ongoing.
The story was not satisfying at all. Like, it was like, it wasn't, it just was not all around. It just it was not a good read. Like, literally, it was like my allegedly 5. Like, I think I gave Monday's Not Coming a 3. Grown got a 2, and White Smoke 0.
Plus, too, the thing about that case is they didn't even release everything that was set in court because they are not going to, because some of the stuff was so degrading,
so bad,
that they refused to release some of the stuff like that was said in court, like the stories that were told, because it would just like, it would mess you up.
Right. Nope, I'm right there with you. So no, it was not. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew there was a reason.
Yeah, I just knew it was, yeah, nah, it's y'all. And I tried too, because like she to a whole different level. The whole different level.
No. Now she's moved on to horror. And her last book was basically Carrie with a white passing biracial, from what I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get that. She was.
I wasn't.
White Smoke. I wasn't. I didn't read it. Ever read nothing else of hers.
I didn't read it.
The first 3 definitely are, or first 3 are.
And she said horror is her new lane now. So I don't know if she'll be going to that inspired thriller stuff again, unless maybe, you know, bills need to be paid or something.
You get on my nerves unless bills need to be paid.
Yeah, like that is not something that I feel like a lot of people talked about it, but I think it's an important conversation we need to have. Like, where's the line?
Right. And again, like it'd be different if there was some distance and time from it, but these aren't things that there are distance and time from.
Because it's not like people absolutely need to hear this story because these stories don't get told. And there was a whole documentary. Like, I
Mhm.
2020 was actually when I saw parts of the documentary. Like I said, I never saw the whole thing. My friend watched the whole thing because she likes to like watch like those types of stories about real life people. And like listen to those, read those stories about real life people. I don't really do that. So like she showed me like an episode or two from the documentary, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, nah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not something I can do.
I'm glad like you were able to find out. Like I said, Jay is the only person I know who said that it was a real case. I had not heard nobody else say that it was based off a real
Yeah,
case.
Venus definitely been around for my renting
No.
on on TDJ for a while because that was the first thing because I want to say that that's the only one that Brit has read is Monday's Not Coming, and when I told her, she was like, "That was like, no, it really happened."
No, because it's like a booktube favorite book. I
Mhm.
hear a lot of people love that one, and I'm like, and a lot of people have grown to it. I'm like, I don't know why, because people who don't like it will tell you it's this the case.
Right, right. It definitely to me it was like it didn't take any creative license like at all.
Like if it did what you said, where it was like somebody in the neighborhood or something,
Mhm.
which is more realistic.
And I just think if you said that your message is to like point this out to girls so they see it, like that's who girls encounter.
Yeah, most of us aren't getting courted by some creepy
No, by a
R&B singer. I
Grammy
mean,
winner,
unless you were living in Chicago, because apparently he was
right?
hanging
No,
out
in
with high
Chicago
schools.
you
Like,
were for
yeah.
sure.
So
I
if
have
you
a
were living there,
friend.
yeah, definitely
I
that
have
was
a
happening to
friend.
you.
She's
But
older than me, and she was like, when she was in high school, he would be around like the malls and high schools. So like,
yeah.
no,
So yeah, like I understand for Chicago, yeah, that was definitely girls' reality. I'm not gonna take that from them. That was definitely their
at
reality. He
all.
was
Right,
around courting them, but other places in the U.S.,
right. Right. It's for you to specifically say it's not about
maybe,
him. Nah, girl. You if it wasn't about him, the book wouldn't have done the numbers it did.
yeah.
For first and foremost. Like let's
Like
just start
let's
there.
be honest, it wasn't about him. Was so we don't get sued by his
Right.
people.
So you
That's
right.
no,
That's exactly why.
because they used it to promote the book. But at the same time, you got to write in there, well, it's not actually about these people. It's just inspired by them so that they can't come back and sue you. But we all know.
Right.
Like they were
Yeah.
clear with who they were, like when the promotion.
No, that literally a friend of mine was like, she was like, Shay, like it is specifically one specific girl's story. It's not like all the girl's story put in
No,
one.
it's
It's one girl's story. And she was like,
yeah,
it made me sick.
it is specifically her story. Like the whole, and like the same thing happened with Muted, like the whole wanting to be a singer and everything like that. No, that was specifically like her story. And I'm like, she's all types of messed up. Like, because from the interview she did with him, defending him, to like the most recent interview she did, you could see like there was a noticeable change. Like, yeah, she's a
Right.
couple years older, but she looked like she aged like 15 years. Like she looked aged, she looked tired and like gone through it. Which I mean,
Right.
she
Because
went through a lot.
there's
Like,
a lot to go through. And again, that's another reason why, like, there's somebody who's actually living this, who's
yeah,
actually living with those scars, those like those scenes that you wrote is someone's actual life. Like currently, I couldn't
yeah.
do
So
it.
when I watched the interview with her, I'm like, that really puts stuff into perspective. When you see her like sitting down telling her truth and the way she looks, and like everybody in the comments is like, oh my gosh, it's like, what happened to her? Like, you all
You
know what
you
happened
think
to
you
her.
think coming out and telling this truth and
Yeah.
standing in it was easy?
Yeah, and like the harassment she's faced and all types,
Right.
yeah, from his supporters, like all of that stuff
I
is
couldn't have
not,
wrote the book and not given her half the proceeds. I just
yeah.
don't. I don't know. I personally could not have done it.
Because
because
truth be told, if a book was to come out, it should have been her co-writing with
it
somebody
should
else.
have been her book, right?
The same way Malcolm X's family can co-write books with people, like, I'm just
Right.
saying.
Right. Because I don't understand why you wouldn't do that.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, why nobody offered to, well, we know why.
We do know why, right? Cash grab. Like selfishness, right? Because I don't know how you scream you're for black women and do something like that, because I could never.
Yeah. We can go start the next sprint
Yeah,
at
let's do it.
4:50.
This is why I'm loving this so much.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
Because it doesn't make me feel that way.
Oh no, not at all. See?
Girl, the way I've come in on people talking about that book and they've seen my name. Shay, don't say nothing. I love it. Don't say nothing. I already know. Don't say nothing.
No.
I'm like,
Oh, if you love a book and it's not a book I like, don't say nothing. Like sometimes I'm nice and I'm just like, let me not say nothing. Let me let them have what they need to have at this moment. Because
man, listen, I just be asking questions. I don't even say nothing. I be like, so what you think about this?
No,
And
I do.
like,
I just be
that just be me. That's just me. Let me just.
I'm like, okay, so you like, especially because certain things too, like I can't read. Another reason why I like this is because, like, yeah, we're dealing with white people, but like they're not going to school with white people.
Right. Like white people are legitimate side characters. Like they are peripheral characters in the story.
As I went to school with white people too, like as one of the few black people, and again, like elementary school experience was not the same as my high school experience, and like there are certain things I noticed in some of these books that have me questioning stuff, and like I don't think like everybody picks up on it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Especially like people who didn't go to a high school where they were like one of the only black people. There's certain things they wouldn't pick up on.
No, I agree. I don't care if the whole world is even not like what I like. No, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's why sometimes I'm just like, I'm gonna let y'all have what y'all need to have, but if you want a critical discussion, come my way. Come see me. We can have a critical discussion.
If we really talk about it, just come see me.
Because I've had people, readers, authors, come into my DMs like, I'm ready to have a critical discussion about this book. I'm like, okay.
I believe it. Definitely. I've definitely, like, since I've like moved into more of the BookTube space, like when you were talking about this book, I really thought I agree with what you said. I know, because I'm not dumb. So I know I'm not giving you a stupid thing to think about. Like, I've thought about this critically before I let it come out my mouth. So I know.
Plus, sometimes you're reading books and you miss something. Like a friend pointed out to me when I was reading a book, she's like, well, you see, the one twist didn't even make any sense either, because why was this boy only experiencing racism after we found out he was black? And I'm like, and she's a writer, and she pointed that out to me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that at first, but you are right.
No, definitely. I definitely get, and I think that like there are that I won't take anything from good storytelling, right? Like there are some people that are so good at telling the story, you don't even see the things that don't make sense or don't work because they did such a good job of telling the story. So I'm not knocking anybody for that. My thing is when you want to be oblivious to it. Like, nah, don't tell me. Like, no. I can like a perfect example. When I first read The Other Black Girl, loved it. 5 stars. I loved it because it made perfect sense the way the book worked. Like, never once was Nella a good character. She was always gonna be for white people. Like, I love that.
The thing was, I think we were supposed to think that she was like,
and I think that, and for me, it was like, but if you read it, how could you not? Like, this whole time, she ain't. It's giving. I only care about black people and other black people around, like, very easily.
I don't think that's the message the author was necessarily trying to
Oh yeah, no, I
That's the
definitely don't
problem.
think it's
When
right.
I
So
listen to interviews,
in my
when I
head,
was
that's
reading
what she
it,
was trying to do. I hadn't
yeah,
read an interview yet. I hadn't seen her yet. I just read the book because
yeah,
it was like Black Girls Debut, and it was like 5 Black women had their first book come out that month. So I was like super duper excited, right? And then I sat with the book, and I was like, this disgusts me. Like literally, it went from a 5 to a 2 in like just months of sitting with the story and talking about
that
it
book,
and
I think I
reading
still
it
have some trauma
again.
from that one. That one
Nah,
gave
because
me
it's a
headaches.
lot. It's a
Like,
lot.
I think too, again, because I grew up like in a very white environment, I'm like, I recognize the signs very quickly,
No,
like what type of character she was, and I'm just like, oh no.
very quickly.
And that's
That's
not
why
how the book
when
was
people were
sold.
like, I was surprised. I was like, did we read the same book?
That's not how the
Like
book was
nothing
promoted. That's
she
not how
did
people were talking about
surprised
that
me.
book. To like, because the people who were talking about the book initially were a lot of like Black authors. So I'm like, I don't understand. Like Black editors and stuff too were like, this book was so amazing. And I'm like, okay, we didn't notice any of this. Okay.
Yeah, and for the life of me, I just don't like the publishing background was just so mediocre. Like it could have been set in any
And the industry.
genre of work, like any occupation, because publishing really was not nah. And I think that honestly was why so many people gravitated towards it was because
Yeah.
we were like, oh, we're gonna get this like inside look at publishing, and it's like we knew y'all had conversations that Black people don't really be in a conversation on, or if there are, somebody got to be lying because we saw what happened with Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Somebody told y'all to put Black people on the cover of classics that ain't no Black people in. We know that that's dumb, but we see how it came to fruition, so we obviously know these conversations happen, and it just
Daisha, we'll get back to that one after after this
Okay,
break.
what did she say? What she? I want to see it.
Because we're not going to get into that now.
Okay, all right, this is gonna be funny.
Let's start our next sprint.
Oh, ooh! I saw what book she said. Goodness.
All right. How did everybody do? I see that some people came through. Hey, Pat. No problem. You're in every live. Like, you always find a way to stop in people's lives and show support. How far are you into the book? I know you said you read it before. So did you join us for the reread, or are just joining for the chat? Robin also hopped in. Hey, Robin, how's it going?
I ain't gonna hold y'all. I read a little bit, but I was eating too.
It's okay. I ate in the first print.
I was like, you hungry? Warm up your leftovers.
I ate dinner in the first sprint, but I'm on 14 now, chapter 14. So I'm a little bit ahead, which is where I wanted to be.
Yeah, I'm still not as far ahead as I want to be, but I'm like right at the start of chapter 12. So if I finish that today, I'll be right on track.
Okay, so you're on track.
Grams is a trip for real, for real.
Yeah. Okay, at least we've got to chapter 10. Yeah, Grams. She was something. Pat is okay, Pat. So you are rereading. I remember reading that you read it before. I did like tell a lot of people though to read it before. Like, this is a book I've been trying to get a lot of people to read for the past couple of years. So I've sent this book to a lot of people. I like when people say they briefly heard about it, I'm like, no, you have to read it. This is a book that I recommend often. And for good reason. I'm getting back to Deja's comment. She's not going. Currently a few pages into chapter 9. That scene with the mysterious man with the dark hair was scary. I need to know who this guy is and why her jubilation doesn't work with him. Yeah, the way she writes those, like when he appears in those scary scenes, like it gets me. Because when I was reading chapter 9, it was at night, and I'm like looking over my shoulder. Isha didn't read, but she created a thumbnail for an author discussion. So is this one going to be on the one on your channel, Alicia?
Nah, but questions that need answers.
Because we are waiting. Hopefully everybody is good this Sunday. Yeah. Would love to like listen to this in audio just to hear the different voices, as long as it's a good narrator, because like I said, some people who do southern narration, not everybody's good at it. Some people's accents be a little bit off. And for me, an audiobook with a bad accent will hurt the book too. Yep. Asia said, I need an audiobook. That's what I'm saying. Who do we have to fight to get the audiobook? Maybe if they see more people picking it up, it's more incentive to get an audiobook. It is. This is don't make me shake choke. I wonder if we could petition for it.
I think for a petition.
I'm for a petition. I think like the best way though that we can show them is to do stuff like this, where we're promoting like people reading it and purchasing it, so they know like there's a demand there,
right?
And having discussions about the book, so they know people are talking about the book. Which leads me back up to Deja's comment. Yeah. So I've pitched this to people. I've said, if you like the rootcraft aspect of Legendborn, to pick up Daughters of Jubilation. Because while Legendborn gives you a little bit of like that generational magic coming from the Black people, a lot of it is very intertwined with a white magic system with a specific set of rules. Like here, there were actual roots. Like they're actually like it's actually clearly inspired by root. In Legendborn, they're calling it rootcraft, but I don't know where the roots are because they don't mention herbs at all. So that part, I asked somebody, I said, now how is it rootcraft with no roots? I don't understand, because every book that I've read where like it was like a fantasy type inspired by rootcraft, like somebody had some herbs. I'm talking about Drama High, which was a popular
Quiet as it's kept.
Not even just this one. Like I'm talking about like Drama High, which was a very popular like teen Black book series that when I was in high school. Like that was also a story about a girl who lived with her grandma, but it was like a contemporary one, and she and her grandmother practiced root. That was like the first time I had seen it in a book, so I'm like, I was somewhat familiar from learning through that series. Like this is a thing. When I read that Psychic Dreams book, that also had roots. So that rootcraft without the roots makes no sense to me. Yes, I too am just confused. This is because this is Simon. This is Simon and Schuster. And another thing too, Daughters of Jubilation came out the same time as Legendborn. Like they came out within a month of each other. So you see there was a difference between one got a lot of promotion and a big tour. This one got a smaller tour. They didn't want to send out a lot of physical
And you
art
see what the
copies.
big difference is, right? One
Like,
centers Caucasians and the
yeah.
other does not.
Well, because too, like I said, I have this copy. I had to fight them to give me this copy and go through a tour company to get this copy, because when I asked the publisher directly, oh, we're not really sending out physical copies of that. Why the tour happened after I sent that email and they sent me a physical copy, and they had physical copies then.
It's interesting, but like also, right? We had this conversation when what is Ashes of Gold came out, because
Yeah.
Wings of Ebony, even if it didn't hit for a bunch of consecutive weeks, it still hit NYT's bestseller list. So
Yeah.
for the sequel Ashes of Gold to come out without an audiobook was wild. Like we were discussing that, like being like, what is, how is this a thing? And it
Yeah.
did come out like later, but I want to say it was like 8 months after
Yeah.
the story had come out.
So it tells me
And
they
at the
didn't
time
believe
that
in
it
the
came out,
story.
the author didn't know if she was gonna get a audiobook.
Yeah.
Like that was a question. She was like, I don't know. And so back to when Pat was saying you would have thought the author should have requested it. The fact that it's not a guaranteed thing when you're
Yeah,
in
they
Trash
can't.
Club that you're getting an audiobook is insane to me.
It's also not a guaranteed thing that they'll get a narrator from the same background.
Right.
I got some insight on that experience where they suggested people, where the author suggested people, and she had complained to me. She suggested people, and she's like, I'm gonna just let them do what they do because they're not listening to my suggestions. First of all, they're trying to get somebody with an accent, and this character don't even have an accent in the book. So I did see a little bit of insight into the audiobook. Yes, sometimes they'll come to the author with suggestions about the audiobook, like narration and stuff, but even then, they don't have much say. They don't know if they're going to get an audiobook.
Girl, Walmart, $5. All they sweaters and stuff's going on sale because don't nobody want to be cold or don't nobody want to be hot. But I do because I don't like the cold. So your girl done got like 7 new outfits for like $50 because like everything on sale right now. So thank you, girl.
As I said, it was the writing. I can see why people liking board. Like there are things I genuinely see why people like, especially like if you were a big lover of YA fantasy in the 2010s. It's one of those types of stories. There's a lot of, it's very much like one of those types of stories, but with a black girl at the forefront. I didn't like 2010s YA, like YA fantasy. That's actually, I fell off of YA for a little bit around that time because I wasn't vibing with what was coming out. And before that, like I was mostly a contemporary YA reader. But there's some stuff in that book that we talked about, not just the root, because we also talked about with Legendborn that she is around a lot of white people, and she's around a lot of white people, and it's like the idea that you can only be blackety black when you're around other black people. We're not saying that, but we're saying you're gonna act differently when you're surrounded by white people as opposed to being surrounded by black people.
Yeah. Like, and the only people that don't are people who are not used to being around other black people. And if that's what you're saying, that's a different conversation. But that's not ever what she said. She's never made it be like Bree's not used to being around black people. It's just she's not around black people in this space. So it's like this doesn't really make sense.
Well, because then too, so I also read Bloodmarked, and I thought like the stuff I didn't like about it was going to be corrected, because there's a point in the Legendborn towards the end where it's specifically pointed out by the father. He tells her to get some more black friends. I'm like, okay, so it was intentionally. She knows Bree doesn't mess with other black people like that, so we're gonna get more better black relationships in book 2. And that didn't happen. Instead, it felt like black people came in to prove a point. They came in to help out, and then they dipped and went on their way.
So now we use black people like a plot device.
Like, Because all of a
So
sudden
did
it's
you?
like,
Are
oh, there
we
are
good?
actually
But
other
like,
Black people in this very white world. Where were they? Why weren't they in book 1? Then why is everybody act? Is it just this chapter that's racist? Like, I
so
don't
here's the
understand.
interesting part, right? Here's the interesting part, because I've seen numerous tweets about how this just might not have been the book for you if you expected that, but then you added
Yeah.
Black people in the second one, so you felt convicted by what people were saying. Because
No, there
truth
was a
be
lot
told,
of
if I wrote the story and it wasn't supposed to be other Black people in it, y'all complaining about it wouldn't have made me put more Black people in the second story if that was intentional.
yeah.
That
That
wouldn't have
also
changed
happened.
it, because it's her whole thing is it's the story I wanted to tell. Baby, you don't have to lie to us.
Yeah. I
You
know it's a
don't have to
story you
lie to
wanted
us.
to tell. That's fine, but we gonna address these problems, especially
Right.
for
Because if
me.
it was the
I
story you
went
wanted to
to
tell, why are you changing aspects that drastically affect the first book?
because I'm
Because
like,
now in the second book, it looks like she was intentionally avoiding Black people. If they're just there in the second one.
well, like the thing is, it all of a sudden we bring in a character who's like Black, also from this very white group, and she's like, "There's other Black people here rooting for you." What? I
How
thought
do they know
it
she
was
exists?
so.
What are they rooting for?
I
Everybody
don't
knows about the
understand.
Arthurian legend, so everybody know who you do. Everybody root for you. Explain. I got questions.
So that part didn't make any sense to me, and I'm like, so if there are other Black, you're not the first Black person they encounter. There are Black people on like the lower tiers, like, and it again, that part didn't even make any sense, because I'm like, why would Black people intentionally want to be on the lower tiers of this racist society? No one is forcing you to be like, because at least she can say she has this tie to it that makes her want to be in it. No one's forcing them, so I don't understand.
Right.
And then like somebody else had told me that there is a Black member of the round table who's a part of the Arthurian legends, and that person has not come up in the series as of yet. So that was interesting, because that's not something I knew, but that's something that was pointed out to me, and I'm just like, okay. And she's like, I thought it was about that, like it was a descendant of that person, or the descendant of that person was going to show up. I'm like, no, that's not what happens. So like I noticed when I was reading this too, I'm like, you're getting generational magic. And then having read the author's note here, which the author had pointed out, she kind of she lost her mom like a while back, and she was thinking about losing her mom and what her mom would have been like in her younger years. So it's interesting too to see, like, because with the author of Legendborn, she lost her mother at a young age. So it's interesting to see like how people kind of decided to explore their grief in different directions too, and tell and come up with like completely different types of stories. But like the southernness is heavily too in Daughters of Jubilation. Like you can tell we are in South Carolina. They are in a close-knit community.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't feel like you up north nowhere in this book.
And I didn't get that from Legendborn. Like the southernness wasn't there. Again, we're doing.
It just didn't feel it from what everyone has said about it. It didn't feel like an accurate description of being on that campus in the contemporary world. Like it just didn't, because like it's set in our time. It might be fantasy still, but like you'd be hard pressed to find a major university in a state in the South where there's not Black people.
Well, here's the thing that I found out after, like I found out recently, like they have a whole Black people do their own homecoming celebration at that campus and everything. Like they have their
we do it here at my campus. So
I mean, we did
Oklahoma.
stuff like that too. We
and
had
Oklahoma
our own
wasn't
party.
even a part of the country until 1907. So if we do it, then like why would it?
But like they'd have their own like special Black events that they do for homecoming, and so I'm like, there were Black people on the campus. Like I understand she's lost in this grief, but I don't understand the point of setting it on the campus if we're not going to actually use other aspects of the campus. The truth be told, it felt like it's only set there because the author went there, not because the campus has to actually do anything.
And for me, you could have just made a university.
But then we wasted time talking about this statue actually exists on the campus, and this was the meaning behind it, and it has represents like the slaves who built this. And I'm like, we didn't use. I mean, we didn't even go to class. Like, truth be told, we could have. Like, I'm like, she could have taken like a Black history course or something.
Yeah, it feels weird.
So like, I'm reading this, and I'm reading like she has this close connection with this generational magic, and she's trying to learn how to control it. And even just like the way it's described, we're not getting this multi-tiered magic system where you have this person is this and this is their role in this, but you can still see that a lot of thought went into the magic here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm loving Daughters of Jubilation. I'm loving how Black it is. I'm loving how it is what it is unapologetically. It's not trying to be something else. Um, I don't feel like I've read something like this before. Like I'm not reading it like, oh, this sounds familiar. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like you're not reinventing the wheel, but you're also not doing the same thing everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
And
like I don't have a book that I would compare it to. I'm like, this doesn't feel like the
right,
Black version.
right. Anything else that
And
we've been reading in a while? No.
this doesn't feel like another Black book I've read recently. It stands on its own.
It does. It definitely does. I'm a fan.
Yeah. And I think I don't know where everybody else is. I'm like, because I'm like on 14 now. Like just like the little conversations they had, like they had a conversation where with her and her mom, they never saw a man do household work before. So it was like a shock to them. And I found that funny. Just thinking about like gender roles, especially back then, but even now, a lot of men aren't out here trying to do the dishes, be handy around the house. A lot of women are used to doing their own, like doing for themselves. And especially if you come up from like an environment where you grew up with a single mother and you're a single mother,
it's so interesting that you say that, because I was talking about this the other day, because it was like someone's it's a clip I seen, and it was about like feminism, and it was just talking about like, you know, like why it's always been different for Black women versus white women. And it was a man, and he was like, you know why it's always been different? Because white women have always been fighting for the right to work. When have Black women not worked? Exactly. And that's all he said. And I was like, you know, sir, you didn't have to say something so succinct but so powerful, like in that. Like, our starting point is different. What we're asking for is different. Like, it's not the same. And so, like, even like thinking about like the storytelling and what we like, you can't take a story that was written for a white character and drop a Black character in it and think that there's not gonna be issues, because the story wasn't meant for them. You're trying to put somebody there who it was not intended for. And like, I feel like that is what a lot of people's like problem ends up being with Legendborn, is that it just wasn't that. You know what I mean? Like, you like, yes, it's great, it's a Black girl in this story, but like, why?
It's funny that you mentioned that, like in the white women fighting for their right to work, because I remember reading somebody's review for where they were talking about Cinderella's Dead, and then they were talking about Year of the Witching, and they were like talking about Black authors writing books but about feminism, but they're like writing it from a white feminism standpoint. We weren't ever the damsel. They made like good points of that. We weren't ever the damsel.
We weren't ever the damsel. We were never supposed
dropping a
to
Black
be
girl in a world, right? Dropping a Black girl in a world where she's fighting the obvious, like that they shouldn't be oppressed by men. It's like, well, Black women have always had to work.
Right. Always. Like, always working.
We
like,
don't get to be taken care of.
Right. That's never been the story. That's why like the part where her mother is talking to her and she's like, you're a beautiful girl, and men see beautiful things and they want to have those beautiful things, but they don't care about how those beautiful things want to be had. And I just thought like the way in which she said it was like, it sounds so like pretty, but it's such an ugly truth in the way that she said it and just the way in which the author wrote that. I was like, this is writing. This is
Yeah.
good writing. This is a good, honest conversation, too, because so many conversations between Black mothers and daughters, they don't happen explicitly. That wasn't an explicit conversation. That wasn't don't go sleep with some boy, get some boy your goodies. It was like, no, there are beautiful things and people want these beautiful things because in this time frame, talking about sex is such a taboo thing. It's
Yeah.
not a thing. So we're gonna talk around it, and you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm alluding to, but I'm not gonna say it. And it's things like that that are attention to detail and that are like so true to the community that I appreciate about books that are blackety black black black.
Yeah, like there was a lot of stuff too. There was foreshadowing here I missed the first time I read. I'm like, oh, she was really showing this is gonna happen all book, and I didn't even see it. And like the little
As
conversation.
soon as she said that, I was like, see, that's how I know Clay gonna run. She talking about Clay. I know this is gonna be Clay. Clay, I'm upset you gonna rub me the wrong way by the end of this book, but mama calling it out. And mamas always know. Even when the mamas and the daughters is not getting along, and the mama could probably said something that they could have said it in a better way, but they was right the whole time. Even if I didn't like what they said, they was right. So I'm enjoying all the parts of it that make it so black, for sure.
Yeah. And then like the scene where she went to visit her dad in prison was like one that I really enjoyed too. Like when she's trying to poke out the guard.
Man, listen. I just think that like exploring all the aspects of it, and again, we talk about this all the time how in books we don't have parents. You have her visiting a father in jail. Like you have it that like the parents are there even when
Yeah.
they're not there. And there's a reason for that. And it's like it can be done. Y'all just don't want to do it.
Right, he's behind bars, but still keeping up with her. They come and visit him, and he's still interested in what's
And the
going on
part
in
that
her
hurts
life.
is because that's a lot of people's reality.
Yeah,
Like there are, like I was a child who visited my parents in prison. Like it's a thing. Like it exists, right? Like
yeah,
we have more people incarcerated in this country than some countries have people. So
yeah.
to
Like
think
that.
that this isn't something that we write about, that isn't something that's explored, is just again, hats
Unless they're
off.
trying to give a special message, like she put it in here. She's not trying to tell you anything special
No,
about
no,
the
it's not.
prison system or
It's
anything
not
like
about
that.
the justice system. It's
Yeah,
not a plot device like
yeah,
white smoke that don't ever come back up again. Y'all. I was like, why is
yeah,
everybody in jail? Why are we in a town where everybody in jail and nobody cares about this? That's just the thing. Okay, all right, okay.
yeah. Like no, it just happens to be her reality. Like there, like a lot. Like reading the story, there's like a lot of things like I see that I've seen. Even if it's not my experience, it's people who's close to me. It's their experience.
No, and I agree with that. Like, it's not everybody's experience, but I hate when it's like I was trying to give experiences that aren't seen a lot. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You were trying to write the story you wanted to write, and now you're trying to give us reasons why we should be okay with it. Just say that. Just say that.
Like even like they make a point to also show you like the mom does cry with the twins' father and sends them away, even though the grandma's like, now you know he's a drunk, and they're basically watching themselves.
Right. Right.
So I like that
I'm
they pointed out that too, in the contrast to like her having to go visit her dad in jail.
right.
Like she also doesn't have the best situation going. The mom also didn't have the best situation going on with the twins' father.
Right. Yeah, my mom, and it's interesting because like even in the scene where she's like the mom and her are talking, and the mom is like, she's like, I want to ask mom, is it about her past? But I don't want to open that door kind of deal. And it just even in that it made me think about like my grandmother and just how much I appreciate she was just open to me about her past relationships and the things that she did or the things that she wished she would have done. Because so many times, especially in this specific time frame of Black women's lives, like they're not talking about anything. There's not a lot of conversation between mothers and daughters about how to deal with men, how to deal with life, and everybody's like learning on their own. And
Mm.
so it brought back like remembering my grandmother intentionally being like, I want to break this generational curse of not talking about these things. Because if I would have talked about them, maybe your mother would have made different decisions and we'd be at a different place, you know? And so it made me think about that. And then like to know like they got separate fathers. This father is this way, this father is that way, and thinking like there's just so much conversation that we don't have like in our community in general, and
Yeah.
just to see her write it in such a way that is like honest and true is I just love that. I just love that for real, for real.
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad that you recommended this book. I'm really really serious about that. Like I love how unapologetically Black it feels. It's the way I felt reading Long Division. Like I just
Mhm.
can't stop smiling because it's like, even though it's not an easy story, right? Like
Yeah.
there's still kind of some hard stuff going on, right? It's still not the easiest time to be Black by any stretch of the imagination, but
Every
you
day
make
they're not
Blackness
sitting in
real
pain though either,
at all.
which I've read in a lot of fantasies too. Like every day it was a traumatic something. And her powers aren't completely only activated whenever she's just going through trauma either, which I've noticed is
Right. Like something bad don't have to happen. Or it's not even something bad, like just anything that makes her emotions flare up. That's another
yeah.
thing that I like about it. It's like she can be happy, she can be worried, she can be sad. Like just anything makes it like feel like intense. And for me, that was like, I like that because we're not just associating her magic with pain. Because in so
Yeah.
many other stories, we're associating magic with pain, with hurt. And it's like, why does our sorrow have to create this beautiful thing? Why can't it just be
Yeah,
beautiful
because
and
like they're
magical?
sitting in church and making jokes and like she accidentally unleashes power. These likes the all the R's.
Oh yeah, no, I'm all
Yeah.
for
So
it. The book
she's
that I wanna like finish this year outside of Blankets Burglary is called Best Served Cold. And it's a revenge. Yeah, we doing away with everybody. And I love it because you know, honestly, I don't even think of it as a revenge. I think of it as justice, but you know, that's just me.
yeah, no. I like how to Evie acknowledged she's like, nah, I wanted that man to die. Like, it was feeling good.
No, in the very beginning of the story when
Yeah,
she was like, it would be kind of cool if they had an accident. I
yeah,
was like, girl, I was in at that point. You know what? Cause right, I wasn't even doing nothing to you. Wasn't even bothering you. You making faces and talking to me all kind of way. All right, cool. Just and again, she a better person I would, cause I probably wouldn't. I would have looked and be like, oh, did I do that? I would have been a Steve Urkel. Did I do that? And went on about my business, cause God don't like ugly would have been my response. That would have been my response. Man, grandmas be a whole nother thing for real, for real.
Yo, when she told her to stay out of her mind.
I don't need you up in here. Yeah, no, I'm loving it. I'm loving I'm loving the cute moments. I'm loving the serious moments. I'm loving the magic. I'm loving the dialogue. We
Oh
all
yeah,
pick
no.
things up when it's right.
I'm like highlighting like little like like things they're saying and stuff that I think of. So I'm like really enjoying the writing for this
I
one.
love how the dialogue is legitimately how we talk. Like, I'm gonna get one of these. I don't have to say the of and of, like one of these. one of these. You know what I'm saying? And that's how she wrote it. And I'm just like, yes, because that is how I say it. Like, I know what word is there, but when I'm pronouncing it, it's just so blackity black, 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 and I love it.
And then the stuff with her dreams is really cool because, like, the way she writes it, you don't know if it's real, like what's real and what's like the dream, and like.
And I like that she doesn't know it either. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like we're confused by ourselves. Like that, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I like
Yeah.
that it's like, she's like, well, maybe this is a dream. Okay, no, maybe. All right, well, hold on.
Yeah. Like, you're
Wait a
not.
minute. I don't know.
Yeah. You're not actually sure, like, what's reality and what's happening to her in real time. Like, and then there's some memories that she's
Oh yeah,
not
no,
seeing clearly.
definitely giving some slight unreliable narrator at times for sure.
I see people were having a discussion too about special
Yeah, I
editions
was
for Black
seeing that
books.
about Blood
Yeah.
Sign special editions. Yeah.
Mhm.
I be wanting to spend money on special editions and then I see stuff like that and be
That
like,
one.
no.
I also had a problem with the special edition. When I saw the special edition for the Blood Gift, I'm like, here we go again. Because it is the UK edition, which the UK edition is in comes out in paperback. Like, they do paperback first for a lot of their stuff. So it's basically, they're like, we're giving you the hardcover edition of the paperback edition and spraying the edges and acting like they did something.
That is weird.
And the UK edition is still the same cover as the US one. So really, you're just like, for the US people, it's just the hardback with sprayed edges for an extra price.
I'm cool on it.
And I'm just like, they should be reworking these covers entirely. If you're paying for a special edition, it should be a completely new cover with completely new art. Like, the way they treat these Black special editions, where they don't want to give them anything new, they just figure, here's the hardcover with sprayed edges, when you can paint your edges very easily. It's not hard to do. Like, I can't stand that for authors. And I remember one author I spoke with, he had 3 special editions. I thought he only had 1 special edition. Only one got a reworked cover in that. So the one side is the regular cover. The other side is a completely different drawing. So, like, it's reversible and you can flip it. And he said the one, they didn't do any special sprayed edges. They just did it in hardcover and that was it. And then he provided the art for the author's note. Like, the art was something that he had already commissioned for promotion of his own book. That was wild to me. Because I'm like, the way they be acting like they're giving you something special and it's not special at all. And they don't be doing these Black books like right with special editions. I can think of very few that got a really cool new cover.
All I'm saying, Alyssis, if you learn and you make it a thing, I will support. You can make it a whole Instagram page and I will share it and whatnot. Because the way I want sprayed edges for Delicious Monsters.
Oh, I painted my edges for I did it for a couple of books, but I did it for the Blood Trials. And you just have to get something good to like squeeze. So you have to wrap the book
you have to get
in.
the presser things to like.
Yeah, so you can get the clamps to press it down, which is what I did. I bought like these clamps off of Amazon to like hold the book down, and I wrapped the cover in newspaper. Like, tape the newspaper to it, and then I took the paint. I took acrylic paint and I painted the edges, and then like waited for it to dry. Then went in with another coat, and it was it. I mean, it took like an afternoon, but it wasn't that hard. You just have to make sure you're like taping up everything right. Put your washi tape where it needs to be, and it's giving you the same effect as if you pay all this money for just the sprayed edges.
Oh wow.
But yeah, you can make
I
your
definitely
own
want to do that.
with You can do your. I think had watched somebody's YouTube tutorials and learn how to do it, but you can do it with acrylic paint. Just paint over the edges. You just have to make sure those hard. Yeah, like Pat said, you can use the hardware store clamps. That's what I had bought. Like the clamps are like the hardware store clamps. You use it because you just need to hold the book together to keep the paint
Pages
from
from moving
moving.
so that they
Yeah.
right. Yeah, no, you just really it is that just take care and time. But no, I definitely thought it was like cool. I know I want to do it at least one. Like I saw, I don't know,
Do it with
I
an
think it's
old
a
practice
real
on a book you don't care about
you
first.
don't care about, right? Like go to a
That's
used
what I did.
bookstore and get like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I had a book that was sent to me by a publisher that I didn't care about. I practiced on that, and I practiced like a couple of times before I did a book like I actually cared about doing. But I've done it. I've done it a few times. Painted the edges. It like I said, I just bought like the cheap acrylic paint from the craft store, and it works fine.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's a lot cheaper than spending like $30+
Oh,
for
for sure.
just sprayed edges. Especially because you can probably get a good sale on, especially you could probably get a good sale on like the hardcover version of a book. We know these books usually go on sale pretty quickly
Right.
after release.
That
Wait,
part.
give or take a few weeks. So, but I want for more authors to be able to get those special editions where it's actually like the reworked cover. Because I've bought special editions a couple of times where it was just the same cover, but a different color scheme. And usually it was an uglier color scheme.
Oh, that's
Like
bad.
it's the same
No, I haven't
cover,
bought a
but
special edition of
red
any
instead
book,
of
but I'm not
green.
opposed to it.
Yeah, I had a whole tutorial film that I never put up where I did the thing because I had to stop and start. That's why I never ended up putting it up. I had to keep stopping and starting while doing it, and I didn't like how the footage came out. But it's not that hard. Yeah, like a good reimagined book cover. Because like I can go into this, I can buy the regular cover for cheaper. Why am I paying to do that and just get like
Right. Well, I'm buying the
three
same thing I
packets?
already got.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
Or
sense.
why am I buying it and it's just a different like you change the cover from blue to red?
Me, I'm people. I hear.
Me people.
I think Witches Deep and Go is the only one I saw that had a different cover,
What's the Steeped in
like
Gold?
a
Under the
drastic.
Storm. This Fake Crate edition had a different cover. Another one I have another one too that's like a lesser known one that has like it's because it was in like a smaller independent publisher that had like a special cover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Skin of the Sea, the Owl Crate edition
Okay.
had the special cover. Like it had the regular cover on one side, but in a different color scheme, and then like you flip it, and it's like this picture of the main character, and it looks completely different. And it had like
Oh,
gold sprayed edges on that one.
okay.
I don't think I was looking for to see if they were doing like the sequel. They didn't do the sequel,
Mm.
which is another
Both of
thing.
those original covers were gorgeous, so they had something good to work with, at least for those two for sure.
Yeah, but like I like when they do a completely new cover, and then like
That's what I like
when
when they
they
do for the British ones, like the UK versions have different when they have
yeah,
different covers.
I
I
like when they
really
do
like
that too, like a completely different
because
cover
for
for
Ray Bear, the animal
yeah,
covers are so pretty. Like I love
yeah,
the covers we got in
with the
America,
hidden
but
face. I like that.
I love the UK ones. Like those, that is probably one series that I'll probably buy twice to get the UK covers because I thought they were so pretty.
Yeah, I like the hidden face on those. Those that was like the way they arranged the animals to show and plants to show the face. I like that.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've seen like some indie authors do special editions, but I don't like it. I they for a lot of black books they just don't get good ones. Like I see like they'll get in the big boxes like Fairy Loot or whatever, and it's like the same cover.
Yeah, it's like abstract. Like you have to look at it and like look at how the animals are
Yeah,
arranged to see it.
yeah. If you look at it properly, you'll see like there's a face in it.
It's so cool.
And I think Ray Bear had like another like a special book box edition too.
Yeah, I think they did too. But it was
Um,
like I wasn't big on book boxes at the time, and knowing, and
yeah.
I was like, I don't really want to pay this much for it.
I know
But
they had a book
I will
box,
get the
and I
UK
think
covers for
A
sure.
Song of Rights and Ruins also had a book box. I can't remember what A Song of Rights and Ruins covers look like. I didn't really care for their original cover that much, so. But it's very few black books that actually get like the special editions to begin with, and then when they do them, so often they're so lazily done.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I'll wait the month to get it in
I'll wait
paperback.
a month if I like the cover. I ain't gonna hold you.
I'd rather wait the month and get it and get because you're also
I
when you're
mean,
buying the
because knowing
hardcover.
me, I'm probably not gonna read it when it first come out anyway. Knowing me,
Yeah, because especially for adults, so adult hardcover for fantasy is like $32 now
these
for.
books are getting way more
And
expensive.
I actually saw one. There's an anthology that I'm supposed to get a review copy of. The price on that anthology is $40,
I saw that and I was like, yo, that's crazy.
and
I
I said
don't
that is
want to.
crazy.
Or have you seen the books where the ebooks will be more than like a paperback? I'm like, y'all
Yeah,
have lost me.
the, sometimes I do see that the ebook is more than the paperback version of the book, and I'm like, y'all know a lot of people read the ebook.
Y'all, the thing that be getting me is that like I'm a stickler for my books matching. So I hate when I'll buy like a paperback or I'll buy a hardcover and then the paperback ends up being like cheaper than the hardcover, or the hardcover ends up being like more like whichever one that I have is opposite by the time the next book comes out. So then it's like, I don't really want to spend $5 extra for this book.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
like when so Penguin Teen does this sometimes. They will change the cover for book one in time for book two. So like book two will be like can go from like it'll have a like sometimes they'll have like an abstract kind of art thing going on book
mhm,
one where you're looking at like symbols or something from the book. And then
mhm,
for book two, they'll put faces on it.
mhm.
And then book one cover, they don't re-release the hardback with the new cover for book one. So they don't match.
Oh, so they don't matter. Yeah, no, I
Like
hate
if
that
you look
too.
up like the Mirage series, book one, hardcover and paperback are two completely different covers, and neither one of them match book two.
Oh wow.
Because the art style they did for the paperback version of book one, they changed like the artist they did a completely different art style for book two.
Okay, Deja, talk about it. Talk about it. Like y'all spent so much on these covers, but the book was garbage.
Yeah, that too. Like some of these, and then there's some books don't have the people don't match
Man, cause y'all not gonna
like
convince me that that
inside the
girl on the
pages.
cover of Ace of Spades is biracial.
Yeah, that situation like
I
with the
remember like
blood.
somebody was like, she mixed, right? I said, with what?
Well, to be fair, in the book she wasn't even written like she was biracial. Like you could have ignored that. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah,
Right. Because
I've
then it's like,
seen.
if she wasn't, then what was the purpose? Why did you even make it? If it's not even going to be a good point, what
Yeah,
was the purpose of giving her a white daddy? Makes no sense.
yeah, because like I was like with the blood gift cover, there are some people on that cover. They are not the race that they are. They are not looking like how they are described in the pages of the book. I'm like, so you saying this person might have a distant black ancestor, but on the cover they look like completely black?
Remember when you had to tell me that one lady's book, the boy was biracial? I was like,
Yeah.
I thought this was an Asian young man. It's not. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that one too. I thought that was an Asian young man too. They were like, you didn't see the dreadlocks? I'm like, those were dreads? I thought
No,
those were
I thought
tendrils.
that was a man bun, girl.
I thought
Like
that
some
was a
wavy
braided
hair.
man bun.
I
Okay.
didn't think. No,
I didn't
girl.
think nothing of it. I'm like, okay, he has a man
And
bun. I've seen
I
that.
didn't think nothing negative because like it's what she's
No,
known for doing. So like,
that's what I thought it was a man bun. I thought that
um,
just his hair was wavy. I thought like
right?
I didn't think anything bad about it. I didn't think it was like
No,
an
I just
Asian
was like,
boy. Like,
oh,
yeah,
this is her bag because this is her real life. That's all I
yeah.
thought, literally.
Like I wasn't like thinking, oh no, it's an Asian boy appropriating dreads. No, I just thought like that was his hair texture. And then they're like, that is supposed to be a black boy with dreads. I said, black where?
Where is the question?
Like y'all knew they knew what they were doing with that cover.
You knew what you were doing with that cover. You were intentional as all get out with that cover.
Yeah, so like, and then even some of these books, like inside the pages, like the girl will be described as having like loose hair or something, and on the book cover, you'll see dreads or braids or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense to me.
Man, the way I cried about the 5th season drop, man, they got actual gems in the cover of the book. These books are like a stack. Ain't no way I'm paying a stack for a book. Like I'm just not
Oh
in
yeah,
this. Like
those would
maybe
be
if I was
expensive.
rich, sure, I'd buy these. But they're in limited edition. Like there's only like 20 or so of certain ones, and I was just like, yo, they gonna make money off
That
of this.
and so a lot of with the book boxes too. The only one that I know that review like if it's not like a standalone special type of book box, the only ones that on a monthly basis will reveal to you what book is going to be in the box ahead of time is Fake Rate. Every other one makes it a secret until you get the box. Fake Rate will at least tell like do a reveal where it'll tell you what book is in it before you buy.
Yeah, that's
And you have
crazy
the
because
decision
I'm
if you want
definitely not
to.
doing that. I don't. What
I'm
if I don't
like
like
I
the
can't be
book?
going into a book like these monthly
Yeah,
boxes blind.
right. Spending that much money every month, not knowing if I'm gonna like the book, and knowing y'all is more than likely not gonna be a black author.
Yeah,
Nah.
because like I need to know when they drop in the black authors books, and I'm
So
not
I
going to
think
sign up and get 5 white books before I get a black author.
so, Deja. I think for what N.K. Jemisin is doing, definitely because they're like so specific and down to like this. I don't know how it works
The
for the book
other ones
boxes.
I heard for the regular book boxes, they don't make that much.
Yeah, but for these, I think because like and like for I know like they're signed, like they have extra stuff and stuff in them. So I think like these they do make more money off of because it's more work. And I think they're not being done by the publisher either. Like they're
Yeah,
by a specific house. So I think it's something that like she's contracted to do with them. But I also don't know, N.K. Jemisin probably can write contracts that other people can't write, like at this point.
because so I know there's a book that's going to be in Fairy Loot. I know the author. I know what book it is. I don't know what month it is going to be in. And she's known for months that it's going to be in Fairy Loot, but that's about it. She ain't going to know what it like looks like until it's done.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think it's the same
But
for
then
NK.
Fairy
Like
Loot also
NK
does not
tweeted
tell you
about
ahead
it.
of time. Like it gives you a hint as to what the book is going to be, but they don't tell you until after they start sending out the boxes. This is the book.
Oh
So you have to
wow.
guess.
And is Fairy
And
the
they
one
give
that
you
has
these
like it'll have
debuts.
stuff from different books in it?
Yeah. So a lot
Okay.
of them too will have stuff from different. Like most of the time, you're getting like little merchandise and stuff from different
Cause
series. So
that's
like
the one I
I've
seen. Cause like it was a different book, but like the blanket had like a quote from like Terra Sai on it or something, and I was like, "Well, that's weird. Why would you
yeah
do that?"
a couple of them do that where like they give you from different fandoms, which I'm not a fandom like person either for YA, so like a lot of that stuff is like means nothing to me because I don't know the books it's even from most of the
Right.
time. But like I said, if you're doing if they're in the monthly box, you have to guess that they're in the monthly box for ones like Fairy Loot and I think
Oh wow.
Alcrete. They don't tell you ahead of time.
Hmm.
Loveless said heroine be having brown eyes in the book. Brown eyes. Heroine on the cover be having brown eyes in the book Hazel. The way that people get obsessed with Hazel and green eyes in some of these books is a whole nother
Bro.
conversation about colorism that a lot
Right.
of people aren't ready for.
Man. Or how like It's never on
because
a
there
dark
be
skinned
more.
black person. That's the part that's weird. Like
Yes,
I grew up with dark skinned people with hazel and green eyes in my life all the time. So it just only being associated with light skinned people is weird to me.
but also like I encounter more black people with hazel and green eyes in these books than I do in real life.
Very true. Very true.
Like the majority of us have brown eyes, yet when it comes to I can't even say when it comes to fantasy because it being contemporaries too. Like
Right.
every light skinned man you meet has light eyes.
Yeah. And here's the thing is there are shades of brown. So
Yeah.
like it's not like y'all can't act like they're a lighter brown shade. They just don't hazel though. Really, y'all? Come on now. Come on now.
One really book
The
really had
part that
me.
don't get me, the part that gets me is we know there are black people, like dark skinned black people with blue eyes. Y'all don't ever write them.
I will say one romance I read had me second guessing on if the man was even black. The cover had a black man, but his the only thing we got described were his abs and his eyes. We never got discovered like they never described his skin tone. So I was
Okay.
like, is he like was he supposed to be black? Like, are we sure? Like it
Right.
because the
Well,
way they didn't
we know they
describe
put
any of his
stuff on the cover because they know we pay attention to covers. So, we know
yeah,
that
I'm
they
like
put
because
them
the
on
way
the
they didn't
cover.
describe how any of his family looked too confused me.
Mm,
And
not
then
the family either.
no, and
That's
just some of their dynamic, I'm like, is it like I don't understand. Like, is his dad mixed? Like,
well,
it wasn't
it
making
was
any
one of
sense.
them sounds about white moments.
Yeah, like I was struggling, like reading this. I'm like, is he act like I don't understand?
That's funny.
I'm like, is he actually black? Is he mixed? Like, what's going on here?
Right. Tell me the story.
He said, I hate when when they're both hardcover people. Yeah, I've seen that too, and it's just kind of annoying. Like even for Ray Bear, so I have the like for that series, I have the arcs. I ended up getting arcs for both of them. So I didn't buy like the books. I just kept the two physical arcs that I have, but they're different sizes. They're like the
Was that
sizing is different. Slight
yeah.
one was slightly longer, and that was kind of weird. I'm like, yo, you guys couldn't make them the same size. He says every black woman doesn't have super curly hair that she brushed into a ponytail. That
Right. Or the way y'all act like hair don't break off, keeping it in ponytails
yeah,
all the dang time.
that's what I'm saying. I have super curly hair, but I don't wear ponytails often because I've learned from years over the years that that'll break your hair off. And so when my hair starts thinning, I don't do ponytails. And I'll go months without wearing a ponytail. Also, not all of us have hair thin enough to put into a top knot without straightening it.
That part.
But I be seeing a lot of top knots. See,
Yeah.
here's where it's like the reverse. Like, so some people then have been using the scarf or like the bonnet to prove blackness, which is interesting too. Because I'm like, there are actually some of us who don't wear a bonnet to bed all the time. I don't wear a bonnet to. I don't wear bonnets at all, so I can't even say I don't wear. I don't wear a bonnet. I haven't worn a bonnet in a while. Do have scarves, but I don't wear them every single night. And I'm like, if that is the only marker of blackness in your book, it starts to become a problem. Which was another thing I had with Bloodmark. Like we just kept getting reminded about her hair at the most random times. Like I don't care if she didn't get to sleep on a silk pillowcase for the past 5 nights when she was captured. That's so random to me that she thought of that. That was one of the first things she thought about.
Yeah, I feel like so much of like now things are done to be markers of blackness and not necessarily because they're authentic to the story. Everybody doesn't have to have natural hair. Everybody's hair doesn't need to be super curly or anything like that. Like it's just weird
Well, they don't even have variety in lengths too, because everybody
at
who
all.
has curly hair has hair down their back. What about those of us who have shorter curly hair?
And I know a lot of black girls with a lot of long hair that is not down their back.
Yeah, shrinkage. Some people have extreme shrinkage too.
Extreme shrinkage. And
Like
I
for
feel like that's part of the reason why Grown got so many people is because of the like cut, the fade that she has. Some people like, it's the representation for me. Okay. Okay.
I
I'll
don't I
let y'all
don't go
have it.
I don't go
Okay.
into certain particular stories looking for the representation, because like that type of story, that's not where I'm looking to see myself. Hopefully I don't see myself in that type of story.
Church, preach. But we
Just
have
because
been
of the
on for three
situation.
hours. You want to
Yeah.
keep going, or what do you want to do? 'Cause I know.
Do you have anything to do? I thought.
Well, I just moved the stream because it was supposed to be at 5:30, and I was like, we still talking, so I moved it back an hour. But I'm also like, am I gonna do it? I don't know. Man.
No, if you want to do another sprint, I'm down for another sprint.
I actually kind of want to go take a shower. If I'm being perfectly honest.
No, we can end here then.
So what's crazy, Deja, is like in the book, she wears wigs the whole time.
Oh,
Like it's a conversation because like she like names the wigs and she's like, I'm wearing this. He likes me in this and da. So like
so
she do got a fade, but I mean you hear about the wigs quite a bit. And again, I feel like that's become like a marker of like, well, black girls wear wigs, and there's so many books I'm reading where they'll do that, and I'm just like, okay.
I only just started recently wearing wigs, so
Not this gets better and better. No, same. I've
like,
only
and it's
I,
not because I felt any type of way. I just never did it. I'm not good at doing hair, so I only
yeah, no,
recently got it.
I just the pandemic got me to be more versatile with hair because before then I didn't like somebody else touched my hair and that was that. I didn't touch it. It was like sew-ins or braids, da da da. Like it wasn't. And then like
I've never done a sew-in. Like who does my braids? She was
I
telling
did
me.
sew-ins for the longest time because it grows your hair a lot. Like it's not touching it. It makes it so much easier and less to do. So I've done sew-ins a lot. But when the pandemic happened and you couldn't go anywhere, and now I live in a college town where there aren't really like black hairstylists, right? And if they are, they're specific things they're good at and things that they're not, right? And sew-ins are not for everybody. Everybody can't do them. There is a level of work to them that is a little bit different than other hairstyles. So I learned how to braid because of the pandemic. And now, like I definitely take better care of my hair now because I have to do it than ever before. Like it was like, nah, it's somebody else's problem. I just pay them to do it because I
Yeah,
don't
well,
want
that's
to.
when I noticed, like, because I had a roommate who used to do sew-ins all the time, and her scalp was a mess. Because she used to not do anything. She'd get her sew-in and be on her way. She wouldn't even like put anything on her scalp.
Oh yeah, nah. See that one. I grew up in a house of stylists, so like I knew better than that. But I just didn't like. I didn't learn how to braid. Like I can braid like individuals, but like braiding with weave and stuff, like I didn't learn how to do that. Like
I'm
as
not
a
good at
kid.
braids, so I haven't even gotten to that braiding,
Yeah,
like and doing individuals. And
So that was one thing. She was like, "Well, you gonna know how to do some kind of hair because you're not gonna be my grandchild. And I know how to do some kind of hair." So when the Bratz dolls came out and they had like the head where you could do the hair, all of us had one of those. And so like that's how I learned how to braid. But including weave, whole different thing. Whole different thing.
yeah,
But
and
YouTube
my like
got me right.
go-to protective style when I don't want to do my actual hair is to get like crochet braids or just get regular braids. And most of the time I get crochet just because it's less time sitting in the chair.
Crochet is less time consuming, is way less pressure and stress on
Yeah.
your hair. It was like my grandmother's go-to when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can only do full sewings. I don't know how people do partials. I can't but I don't like doing partials anything because like some hair is being touched and things aren't, so it's not getting treated the same. So I've never liked that. But I've only done full sewings, and I always did curly hair. So again, I didn't have to do nothing to it. I have to straighten it every morning. I have to wrap it. I just put a bonnet on, and I'm good. Yeah, no, I bought me a mannequin so I could learn. Have I learned yet? No, but it's on the go for
Okay,
2020.
I'm not good at braids, so like I just learned how to like in the past couple years how to be able to at least braid my hair in. Like it
Yeah,
was work in progress.
no, it takes time. It takes time. And the thing is like, at least for what I've seen from older generations, is that like in my family, it wasn't as much that like it was taught as in depth. Like certain things were like just a regular braid, right? Like that was taught, right? But not the in depth things. And I think part of it was for like my grandmother to still feel useful, like that there was something that she could do for us that we couldn't do for ourselves, type of deal. Like
Mm,
that important, like, nah, you gonna sit here and talk to me while I do your hair, type of deal. Like
mm.
I don't know if it was like that for other people's family, but I feel like it was like definitely intentional in my family that there was like, you teach us how to do everything but this one thing. That's interesting, especially because there's three girls in this house. So you gonna do all three girls' hair by you? Okay, go ahead then, lady. But I think it was like intentional, you know.
Yeah, like there's definitely like a relationship black women have with hair, but we don't need you to remind us in books that it's a thing because we already know it's a thing. Like, so you don't need to tell us.
Right.
You know how black women feel about their hair and they have this special relationship with hair because I've seen dialogue like that in books, and I'm just like, why are you
It's just what's
explaining?
understood don't gotta be explained.
Yeah,
Why are you explaining? It's like you're telling white people black women have a special relationship with hair.
yeah.
Right. Because why are you telling us? Because we know.
Like, or like they'll be like, you know how black people are. Why are and you're telling it to another black person? Why? I don't understand.
Right. At the most I'm saying, you know me. Like
Yeah.
that's the most I'm saying.
And I see, so like that's something that also is not here at all in Daughters of Jubilation. There's not one moment I've where it said, you know how black people always got to be blah blah blah. I'm not seeing those moments. It's just kind of understood. This is how it is.
That part.
Like little things that like the only thing explained is like little things that make sense to be explained, like why she decided not to ask for the shrimp and grits versus chicken and dumpling. Like
Right.
that made sense because she's
I
telling
didn't
you
think
we ain't
I
got the
could
money.
ask for it. Not that I didn't want it, but
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be a thing.
that makes sense.
Right.
Some of the other stuff I be seeing with the hair, and it said these girls with the braids on the cover but not in the pages. Because that's what I don't get. How is the cover illustrated and the girls still don't, and like the people still don't match?
That part.
Because that was the one reason why people say they prefer illustrated to people actually being on the cover. But I would actually like to see more like people on the cover to force the publishers to do those photo shoots they have to do to get the people on the cover.
That part.
Not some stock imagery like they'd actually have to spend money to hold a shoot to take the cover photos. Like we deserve that.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Is that they're showing official black novels that we
Oh
have.
no, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I like literally I feel like they like go through and like, okay, I gotta check this box, I gotta check this box, I gotta check this box, and they'll know. And it's like, y'all.
I can tell like sometimes when they're checking boxes because sometimes too like they even do it with like the queer characters. They'll like it was like they said, okay, this book is a little too straight, and then they add something in it, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, we shouldn't be using queer characters like in the way that white authors use black characters to be like the token.
That part.
And I'm seeing that pop up recently, and that's uncomfortable. Like, where I'm just like, this feels random that this character was queer and it wasn't a thing all book. And I don't know if people are having those conversations enough yet. Talking about them hoodwinking us with the cover. I've
That
gotten
part.
better at not picking up a cover just because it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, nah. I haven't bought a book off a cover in a while. I think
Because
2020 was the first year I did that, and it was like never again.
the last one I did that for was the Final Strife, and I could not get through that one at all. And I bought the UK cover because I didn't even like the US cover. Like the art was feeling cheap on the US cover, so and I bought the UK cover, and I'm just like, it wasn't connecting with me. So this year I have not bought anything solely off the cover that didn't sound like an interesting premise, that I wasn't like familiar with the author to an extent to like know how it would read.
Yeah. No, you gotta be careful with that with new authors. That's why the library is my best friend. I would check something out from the library in a quick, fast, and a hurry before I buy it.
I used to not like the people on the cover, but I think a lot more of that was like if the cover was really cheaply done, or if they didn't match the inside pages. There are some covers that I've really liked with people on the cover, like for like the Harlequin special editions. They have beautiful covers with like black people on them. I really like those. Those are like the main books that I buy with people on the cover. I do like this one, and it has a person on the cover. So it just depends on how the cover is set up, how the Photoshop is looking.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a 5-star for you because that book was not a 5-star for me. I had to put that aside.
I haven't heard of it till now.
It's a adult fantasy, like an African inspired type world, blood magic. It's a thick book too. And for me,
Okay.
I just didn't finish. I ended up DNFing it because like I like to be thrown into action, and we were just going so many chapters without nothing really happening, and I needed something to happen. So everything that I've tried reading recently, like that had a super slow start where nothing was happening for chapters on end, ended up getting a DNF.
Oh, got you.
I like something to be happening in the first couple of chapters, not like we get to the end of part one and nothing really happened yet. Yeah, I well, the thing for me was with the character wasn't interesting to me either. Like what she was doing in those chapters was not interesting to me. For me to like, I can do a character driven book if like the character fascinates me, because I had that problem with Where It Rains in Colors. Like we did nothing in part one, and I'm like, I don't understand what the point is yet, and it's taken too many chapters for you to get to even what's being promised on the back cover. That synopsis be misleading sometimes.
Not the synopsis trying to get you.
Well, yeah, because like if it's something that's in the synopsis, like I expect it to happen earlier in the book.
Yeah.
If if we're in part one and we didn't even touch on what's happening yet, like my attention is going.
Right.
There's other books I can be reading. There's stuff I can be doing.
Where It Rains in Color. I'm not gonna lie, they giving it with these titles. These are some titles I ain't never heard, and they sound interesting.
Yeah, no, the author is by a black author. It's a very slow starter. Harley is from Spill. I think she spilled ink. I think
Spilled
she's
ink on
spelled ink.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harley is Harley is currently reading it. We were kind of reading it around the same time, and then I kind of fell off. And then he said, I'll finish it for you." But they also told me, "Yeah, I can see why you fell off of it. You don't need to return."
Unless you don't need the return.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It took me a while to start it, and then I started it, and then when I finally got interested, it said end of part one, and then it started part two with some random new character, and I'm like, now why would we break up the momentum that was going on here? stuff was finally happening, and you just gonna switch POVs. And I think like since I'm like working on my own writing too, like that stuff I notice even more because it makes me think about my writing and the things I don't want to do. Like when you said you mentioned before with like hair and you had to like make sure like your hair is not changing throughout the book.
Man, right. Like if it is, make sure it's consistent because like how she got a frohawk in one and then it's individuals locked up a couple pages later. It don't make no sense. Come on, give me help me out here.
But I read books like that where like I don't understand what type of hair, I don't know what type of hair texture the author is thinking about. I can't picture it because it's just like curly, but then the book is showing locks, but then we're doing one single braid, and I'm like, oh, she got enough hair to do one single braid, and it's a neat one single braid.
I'm with you though, Deja, on the same thing. I'm with you on the same thing. Like I am trying to find the balance. And also, but it also is like it's proving to me just how like I'm not desperate to get my story out there. And what I mean is I'm not going to compromise anything in my story just so that it's out there in the world. And so that has been one of my biggest critiques of like reading these stories. Now, it could just be that some people are just like this and they're not having to compromise anything of themselves and whatnot. But it's to me, the truth being that if you've been working on a book for 10 years, it's very rarely that the book you put out is the book that you first wrote. Like it just kind of like that's kind of the nature of trap book. When you think you're done with the book and you submit it to them, you're still changing it for them after that point. So the book that you put out is not necessarily the book that you intended to put out.
Yeah, and some of the stuff like you can tell it was written 10 years ago, like certain aspects of it haven't changed, but certain aspects of it have changed, and it's not always for the best. Especially when you're doing contemporary, you have to update along the way to keep it current. So there are sometimes like the stuff with the pop culture feels very dated, but then other things that they're talking about is clearly written for recent years.
Yeah, it's like very true. It's like you wrote a book 10 years ago and you're dropping new references inside of it to try to make it fit. And it's like, nah, you should have just let this be a book written in the past.
Yeah, but then they said like Trad Pub doesn't like historical books that are like from recent history. So that's interesting because I did read a book like I want to say
because like that's interesting because Long Division was set in 2013 when it came out. So
but I read a book that was set in like 2007 and it was in it and I read it in 2019. And the book took place in 2000 and it's like the book came out in 2019 and took place in 2007. See, so I guess it depends on what like who it is, how they like your writing style. Like I don't know, because it wasn't the author's first book too, so I don't know if that made a difference.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. Okay, but I really do want to go get in the shower.
Yeah,
we've been on for a little bit longer than I thought we would.
Yeah, we've been on for a while, so we can wrap here.
Okay. So next week we'll be on my channel, right? Right.
Yes. Next week we will be on Shay's channel.
Same time. I haven't put it up, but I'll put it up today so y'all can like set reminders and whatnot.
Yeah, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern.
And the hope is to be on chapter 19, y'all. So those of y'all who might not be there, like me, you know, want to get in. Probably I might do some pop-ups sometime this week just to get some more reading time in. Yes, the conversations were great.
Yeah.
Low key, we talked for 2.5 hours and read for an hour, low key. So obviously the conversation.
No, we had some good conversations about Black identity in books in relation to like what we're reading here. So it did all relate back.
It definitely was on topic for real, for real. Yeah, 12 this week, 19 next week. I know, right? And then we'll be done with the book. We got one more. We are halfway through.
We are getting, yeah, we are getting down towards the end of the book, and stuff is happening. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about this week's stuff. I didn't want to give too many spoilers for the people who.
Right. Yeah. So next week we definitely talking up to chapter 12 by next week. So if you hadn't hit chapter 12 by next week, you just a week behind.
Yeah, because I got some stuff I started highlighting.
No, I know. I was like, I know she want to ask me a few things. I know she do.
Thanks everybody for coming by. We will see you next week. Like Shay said, she'll probably be popping up. Bye, guys.
Bye.